Good to have you here on 3 and Out on this Tuesday. So much to get to on the show. We're talking a lot of baseball, a lot of football, a lot of golf. On the show is stuff going on all across the sports landscape. Grant Coffee, Dog Sports, will join us coming up in just a little bit. We'll get a very latest from Georgia spring practice. Also, we will chat with Anthony Dasher, UGAsports.com. We'll look at the latest on spring practice. Also, former Glenn and Brunswick quarterback, now Georgia baseballer Randon Jurgen, now apparently going through the practices with the football team there in spring practice. So we'll talk to him about that. A lot of golf to get to. Rich Stiles, Bob Herrick going to join us. As a lot of talk about Tiger Woods. Could he play the Masters? And Kyle Glazer, Baseball America, going to join us. And we'll look at the upcoming season, which begins in a little bit more than a week. But fellas, it started going nuts. The Tiger Tracker, his plane is on the tarmac in Augusta. Is he going to play the Masters? I know the Masters put out a list of former champions who were not participating last week. Tiger's name was not on it. People started freaking out. Now he shows up a week before the Masters, just playing a little practice round. He hasn't been ruled out of the Masters. Do you think he's playing?
Of course. Oh, I think he's going to play, Kevin, for this reason alone. When people start thinking, oh, a guy like Tiger Woods, he don't care about making a grand entrance, lies. Yes, he does. Tiger Woods, man, he's done everything that can be done in golf. He's the face of golf. He don't care about, trying to be able to upstage everybody. Of course he does. So for all those reasons, because Kevin, think about this. It doesn't matter what he does. He doesn't have to win it. Right? He just has to show up and play because because sometimes, like Tom Brady. Tom Brady, I'm done. Game is giving me all it can give me. I love all my teammates. Lies. Right? Because he knew he was coming back. And how does he do it? Out there talking with Cristiano Ronaldo. He says Cristiano Ronaldo they just happen to have the mic up when he says, you're done, right? No, I'm not done. And people just, pandemonium crazy. Tiger Woods, polarizing. Of course he's going to come back. Why not? If you are a golfer, when do I want to make my grand entrance? I don't know. The Masters is when I'm going to do it. Tom Brady, when I'm going to make my fake, come out of retirement in the off season, man. I did make everybody think it's no. Tiger Woods, we know you coming back. Tiger, we knew you was going to come back. And listen, and if our own Christian O'Kale say you're going to win it, you're going to win it. Because the last time Christian said he was going to win it, BJ, me and you, he said it's gonna be the final round. He's gonna come around the back nine. You're gonna see, you're gonna see the looks on the guys that's paired with the faces. He's gonna walk away to the sunset with the dub, and he got that dub. Tiger Woods, look, man. I'm a little busy right now, man. I'm gonna hit you up after the show, man. Just tell me where to meet you, man. I'm gonna give you some tips, lies, but he's coming back. Yes,
seems like it. It sure seems like it. I know there would be a kind of a collective disappointment from sports fans everywhere if you had all this news, all this hype, First, here's his plane. The plane is coming to Augusta, and now here he is, practice rounds. And as you said, the report of former Masters champions that aren't going to play, he's not on the list. I think there would be a lot of people really disappointed not to see Tiger Woods, one of the greatest athletes of all time, come back for this tournament. And who knows, Ben, as you said, have a chance to contend, have a chance to win it. I don't think he would come back and play unless he felt like he was in a position to make a run at it. But, Kevin, you talk about just headlines all over the place. You talk about breaking the internet. You talk about just taking over from a headline standpoint, Ben, like you mentioned with the hype and the appeal. Tiger Woods and the Masters, speculation, for a couple of days, for a couple of weeks. But, right? Are we interpreting this wrong? Does it seem like this is a step towards playing in the Masters?
You're not showing up for the Champions Dinner a week early, right? He's not making the menu. Oh. He's not the one that's responsible for deciding what gets prepared. Oh. He's just there. Why else would you be there? There's a lot to read into it. I'm not saying he is going to play, but why else would you be in Augusta a week before the Masters if you weren't at least thinking about playing? Yep. If you weren't going through the motions and saying, look, I'm going to get 18 in Augusta. Let me see how.
And again, there'd be a letdown if he doesn't. That's kind of what I'm looking at is what if Tiger Woods comes to Augusta, does the practice round. Everybody's talking about him all over the internet, every sports show, news outlets, everything. And then he doesn't play. That would be a major disappointment. And who knows? Again, we'll talk to Bob Herrick, Rich Stiles. But to me, this is a sign that he's playing, I would imagine.
It is. And let's just call it what it is. When I am the face of a sport, I don't want. I get tired of not being, in the moment. I get tired of not playing these tournaments. The last couple of years, it's been in and out because of his injuries, rightfully so. It comes back to the Masters. When the Masters kind of show, look, I'm still the face. I'm still the best out there when I can put it all together. But I think sometimes when it's kind of like it's the Tom Brady mentality. Until I'm gone, I'm the man. Until I leave, I am the face. And I think when you think about a guy like Tiger Woods let's face it, man, you got to have a look. I mean, come on, man. Athletes, egos. You got a guy like Tiger Woods, you say to yourself, he's sitting around saying, oh, my God, they talking about this dude? He's better than me? And he's doing this in the privacy of his own home. You don't think that's what Tom Brady did? They go, yeah, go ahead, Aaron. Get your little MVP. Congratulations, Matt Stafford. That won't happen again. The competitive edge of every player, whether you professional or not, is one thing. When I'm the face of this thing, think about it, Kevin. Think about it. All right, Kevin, we sitting there. They getting ready. You having a baseball luncheon. Everybody in there. Barry Bonds walks in. You don't think everybody gonna stop and look? I mean, certain guys, they just own the room. So for me, yes, Tiger, and I do agree, BJ, in the world of social media now to where, somebody say Tiger Woods just sneeze, sin, and it's gonna get retweeted. You hope he can, get enough energy and enthusiasm to go out there and get it done. But hey, man, Tiger Woods is in the building. And as you can see, forget regular schedule programming, scratch that, throw it all away. We're talking about Tiger Woods until he decides to not show up.
Well, he moves the needle, right? I mean, it says Tiger Woods still moves the needle, and he hasn't played in a while. He shows up at Augusta. Again, maybe it's just to get around him. Maybe it's not. Ben getting a nice message here. Athletes always talk about retiring. Hope he comes back strong. Ben needs to come back too. Come play with Pitts on the other side of the line.
Let me help you understand, Steven, Mr. Gibbons. I appreciate the love, but let me help you understand something. I made too many jokes about O'Shag Hennessy. I made too many jokes about Austin Hooper, and I'm gonna just call it what it is. There's a one BJ Bennett, right? I refuse because he's not looking at nobody else. He gonna make sure he at the game. I'm just gonna do this game. Hey, Kevin, I'm gonna just go do this game.
Do one
on the
game,
side. Yeah, I'm gonna go do. And then here you go in the locker room, right? And I'm trying to hurry up. Get my like this. So, Ben, you want to tell us about all that trash you be talking? I mean, what network are you from, sir? Who let him in? No,
I'm from the Derek Abney Radio Network.
Oh, okay, and I said, listen,
when you got cooked on third down, what happened?
And I said, when you got cooked, did I get sauteed? I said, whatever it was. I mean, you got home fried up in that thing. No, I will say this though. To those players who do this, man, listen, when you at the gym, when you're working out with your trainer, these people are paid to lie to you. Boy, you look good. I think you look good. Those people have nothing to do with it. How long does it take you to do two things when you get old? How long does it take you to get out of bed? How long does it take you to get off the ground? If you fall, there's making a bunch of noise. Because when you're young, pop right back up. Now it's like this. Come on, all right. Making all those noises? No, I'm not doing it. I'm not here. I've already embarrassed myself. And because when I played, they were still, that's when YouTube and stuff was going, they logging stuff. I can't even lie about what happened. Because
no, man, you're a legend. You got some highlights. No,
Go
look at the Ole Miss highlight.
Correct, though. If the older you get, even if it's like you get down in a squat, if you can stand up and just stand up, when you get older, you stand up, you go, ooh, you just get that little act. You're like, yep, well, getting over that threshold. True. If you make a noise while getting up, you're you can play with the kids in the backyard. You're on the ground. You lay there, you think about it for a second, then you get up and you go, ah. There's always a noise associated with getting up off the ground.
Of course. I mean, look, you do that all the time.
I'm no longer able to play noise. That's
of course.
What
Listen, my dad, he's a prime example. If my dad sleeps all day, my mom will say, what was you doing yesterday? No, I was just, and then somebody say, John was out there trying. Just because you can doesn't mean that you should. Daddy, leave it alone.
Steve was saying he's followed your whole career. And again, we always talk about the Kentucky low light, but some great highlights. The Ole Miss catch, the Thomas Davis catch.
I will take the good with the bad, but I'm also smart enough to know that was the yesteryears. I am good. Listen, I am good.
You ever look back at those highlights and go, who was that? I just spun away from five guys.
That was fear. That was.
I just broke 5 tackles.
No. You know what it is though? When your family's in the stands, because your family's there for 2 reasons. They're there to see you and they're to critique you. Critique. Is it critique?
Yeah, critique. Yeah,
critique you. But because this is what happens. In front of everybody, all cheers, man. Good job. When y'all get home, you be like, yes. They finally go ahead, man. What was you doing in the second half? Like that one play, they said you was hold.
And then did you look back and say, yeah, but did you see me jump over Champ Bailey though?
Who did you jump over for Ole Miss? Do you know who it was?
I do not know. I
Do
don't
you
know.
have
There's like 2 or 3 guys.
No,
we can bring
the reason
up
I say that, it's like I wonder if somewhere right now in the state of Mississippi there is a radio show and a guy is on there going, "Yeah, I got game plan."
Oh yeah,
I got he jumped over me.
I will say this though. I will say this. The last thing you want to do in basketball, you get posterized, right? You get dunked on. There are posters everywhere. So somewhere, that Kentucky dude is watching me, and I'm going, like he got me like, it's all good though, man. Listen, sometimes you're the hammer, sometimes you're the nail.
But you mentioned, talking about just the appeal and kind of the excitement around Tiger Woods. I mean, it's interesting to think about, as you mentioned, Tiger Woods has not played in some time. The Masters is one of the most iconic, if you want to call it a game, tournament, whatever, in sports. And Tiger Woods is such a superstar that he can elevate the status quo of that tournament a week out. I mean, we are still 10 days out from the Masters, and the potential of Tiger Woods playing, Tiger Woods being on a plane, Tiger Woods taking a practice round is the dominating, leading story in sports. It's amazing. One of the greatest athletes of all time. And that's kind of my thought is you see all the questions. Does this mean he's playing? Well, if he's not playing, a lot of people are going to be disappointed. After all the talk, a week plus in advance, after being at the course, coming to Augusta, and if he can't play, he can't play, obviously. But I'm saying if he can't go, I think a lot of people are going to say, man, I got myself really excited and, tuned in to see Tiger Woods in the Masters again. My guess would be he's coming to play.
Yeah, but BJ and Kevin, I will say this. I mean, listen, let me make sure I pre-qualify this. I am not comparing myself to Tiger Woods. Let me just say that, right? Tiger Woods is a headliner. Like, there are sports and there are headliners. There are people to where, think about this. There are people that's never seen Tiger Woods play, and they know who he is. That's Tiger Woods. I was at training camp in 2008 with the Bucks. And somebody just said, man, Tiger Woods, man, they say Tiger Woods supposed to be here today. What? And we were so distracted. Gruden was like, get back to work. Like, what? So we walk into like the meeting room, and this big old nice camera. I said, lights on. And I'm like, what is this? Derek Brooks, the great Derek Brooks, runs in and said, Tiger Woods, y'all. He was being playful and jovial. Derek Brooks, the consummate professional, who walks in after Tiger Woods. And we in it like this. Oh, and mind you, you want to ask some questions? He goes, hey, you guys are out there doing, he's trying to say all complimentary things and what may have you. And to this day, I didn't get an autograph. You know why? Wasn't because lack of effort. I kept saying, move. My teammates go, no, you move. I said, what's wrong with y'all? And the words were simply, that's Tiger Woods. That's it. That's it. That's Tiger Woods is going to live with him forever. Tiger Woods has a son who plays golf, Kevin. What else was he going to do? He couldn't have done anything else.
And you can play at the Masters. That's what's going to happen. No, Tiger Woods, again, we'll talk to Bob Herrick about this coming up in just a little bit. Rich Stiles of the Back Nine Boys Golf Show. We'll talk to him about Tiger and what that would mean. Phil is out. It's amazing. We've talked about this with Rich. Tiger and Phil still two of the most polarizing guys in golf, and Phil can play on the Champions Tour. Tiger Woods has been injured much of the last 4 or 5 years of his career. Still the two guys that get talked about the most around the PGA Tour. We'll come back, switch gears, talk some Georgia football. Graham Coffee, dogsports.com will join us. We'll get the very latest from Athens coming out of spring practice. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here, 3 and Out on this Tuesday. Spring practice going on in Athens. A lot to talk about there with some, obviously, the quarterback spot, placing a number of guys on defense and more. Joining us here from dogsports.com, Graham Coffey hops in here on 3 and Out. Graham, welcome to the show. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you for having me.
Again, Georgia's spring practice, it seems like one of those things, the storylines won't go away, and that's the quarterback battle. But reports are it's not just Stetson Bennett running with the first team. It's Carson Beck. It's Brock Vandegrift. Is that just giving guys equal reps, or is there something to that?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like every offseason we have some sort of discussion or controversy around the quarterback position in Athens. And I think what that's sort of a product of is if you look at Georgia under Kirby Smart, it's the program where you earn your spot on the field by performing in practice. And that's a totalitarian mindset. And the quarterback position is really not any different than defensive back or, anywhere else on the field. But yeah, definitely has been interesting kind of hearing about the rep shares. Carson Beck has been first in line a lot lately, more often than Stetson Bennett, which is a little bit unexpected coming off of a national championship. I think the flip side to that is Stetson Bennett has been in the program for, 4 or 5 years now, right? I mean, he was on the scout team back in the 2017 Rose Bowl playing Baker Mayfield. So I think he's a known commodity for UGA at this point, and they're probably trying to find out a little bit more of what do we have here in Carson Beck exactly? What do we have in Brock Vandegrift? Those guys have both, been in the program for a couple of off seasons now. They should know the offense. Frankly, the reports that I've heard is that Beck has probably had the most wow moment so far in spring practice, but nobody, Stetson Bennett included, has looked, I think, really, head and shoulders above the rest or, performing at a really great level. And you've heard Kirby Smart talk to the media about leadership. And I think that this is sort of a situation where maybe they're pushing Stetson Bennett a little bit, giving him a little bit of adversity, trying to give some other guys an opportunity to show something and see what comes out of it and see if the team rallies around a certain player or if one of these guys can take these practice reps and really make a statement with them.
Graham, every player that comes back wants to improve. Stetson Bennett, of course, the national championship, MVP honors, top 5 in the country in passer rating. Where does he need to take another step forward in your mind here in 2022?
Yeah, I think with Stetson, there's a big difference between kind of being the guy that comes off the bench and sort of the underdog second teamer that everybody decides to rally around midseason and being the established quarterback coming into the season and, kind of carrying yourself with the confidence of an SEC starter or defending national champion. That's a big change in mindset for a guy who was a walk-on and was told, just less than a year ago that he was never going to play at Georgia, right? So I think that there's that element to it. I also think with Stetson, there is still some decision making that needs to improve. He kind of has that like one YOLO play a half where he'll, scramble out of the pocket and throw back across his body or just do something dangerous. And if you've got Stetson Bennett in the game, he is more than a game manager, like you just said, a top 5 in passing efficiency, top 5 in yards per attempt, or second in yards per attempt in the NCAA last year. Like, he can do some really good things, but you also want to make sure he's not doing anything that can hurt the offense. And he still has a tendency to kind of make those questionable decisions from time to time. And I also think he still struggles sometimes getting through his progressions to that second, third, fourth read. There's been some talk out of practice that there's been some plays where he's had guys open and maybe not recognized it. And that's something they're definitely trying to work with him on.
Graham, I mean, speaking of the the offense and guys that's trying to find a way to make a name for themselves, the tight end position or the tight end room, I mean, suffers another injury yesterday. You down to just 3 scholarship guys. I mean, talk about a guy like Eric Gilbert. I mean, finally found his way back on campus, but going to get a lot more reps now that, guys like Washington and obviously Brock Bowers is going to be out.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Everybody is excited about Eric Gilbert. Everyone that I've talked to that has been at practice and just seen where he is and where his kind of, fitness level is at. The reports that I've heard is that he looks better than he ever did at LSU, just from a physical standpoint. He's cut up. He's moving quick. Terrence Edwards, who he's worked with for years and years when he was in high school, came out yesterday kind of talking about Gilbert has found his love of the game again. And so he seems to be in a really good place, which is great because first and foremost, we want all these guys to just be happy and healthy human beings, right? But from a football standpoint, I know he's made some plays that have been exciting. He's also been willing to kind of take on some roles in practice as an inline tight end and do some dirty work blocking and drills because they are so short body-wise at the tight end position right now. I think when it comes to fall camp and game plan installs, we may see him, more as that stand-up wide tight end or even at a wide-out position. But I know there's been some plays he's made in practice where he's kind of caught the ball in between a linebacker and a safety and made a little bit of a move. And there's a little more quickness and agility there than I think a lot of people were expecting. And he could have a breakout year if that continues.
Graham Coffey joining us here on 3andoutdogsports.com. Graham, defensively, we're about to hear a lot of Georgia Bulldogs have their name called in the NFL draft. So with that being said, where are the interesting opportunities out there in spring ball? Who's kind of made the most of that, getting their first real look at a first-team rep here on defense?
Yeah, absolutely. How do you replace that front seven? I think the answer is that you don't replace that, right? Like you hope to get as close as you can to the standard of play that you had last year, but it's going to be really hard to match it. And I think that Georgia is using spring practice to rotate a lot of guys in with the first team and kind of give everyone a good look. Jamon Dumas Johnson, that name has been coming up since practices at the end of last year and bowl prep for Georgia. He's continuing to look really good at that inside linebacker position. I think that we're going to see him lock down one of those spots, replacing that trio of Quay Walker, Nakobe Dean, Channing Tindall. Tresman Marshall is another name at the inside linebacker position that's been getting some good reviews. And, at outside linebacker, Georgia's lucky they've got Nolan Smith and Robert Beal coming back, who were those starting edges for them at the end of last year. And sounds like those guys have taken on a big leadership role. But Chaz Chambliss, he's doing some good things in pass rush. And then on the D-line, you have Jalen Carter, right? Like that's a known commodity, as scary as it is to say after that combine performance by all those guys in Indianapolis. He still may end up being the best athlete and the best defensive player off of that 2021 Georgia defense when this is all said and done. But I think there's a big question right now of kind of who is going to fill in the rest of those D-line spots. What's that rotation going to look like? Zion Logue is a guy who's, played significant snaps for Georgia in the past and has made some good plays. They're looking for him to take another step. But I think it's going to be very interesting to see G-Day and sort of what the player rotations look like in the spring game and who's able to flash, because I think a lot of these guys are talented. They're all highly recruited, but there's still some things that need to happen to say that anybody has really separated themselves from the pack in some of these position battles.
I know we all look at, who starts when we glance at a depth chart, but given how many players Georgia plays on defense, I mean, second team, third team, are there opportunities for guys here in the spring, whether it's in practices or in the game itself, to move up a spot or two? And maybe if you're not a starter, still put yourself in position along that front seven to play a good bit.
Yeah, absolutely. You talk about a guy like Rion Davis at inside linebacker who was making a way towards playing time last year. And, Kirby himself had talked about him during fall camp that he was looking really good and he was pushing for significant snaps. And you remember that he was competing with that trio of inside linebackers that is now going to be, high round draft picks here in a month. So he's a guy coming back from an injury who, is still getting back to form, but absolutely he has an opportunity over this next month to kind of come in and steal one of those spots or make a statement that he's going to continue to push through fall camp. And I mean, in the secondary for Georgia as well, you've got Kendrick gone, you've got Lewis Dean gone, you have a ton of young blue chip 5-star talent coming in there, and all those guys are getting a lot of looks, and a lot of it's just going to be who can learn the scheme fast enough, who can kind of show some of that on-field leadership and communication and accountability to take coaching and, take criticism from their teammates and fit in, right? Because it's a cultural thing, I feel like, for Georgia, just as much as it is a talent thing, right? Like, there's a mentality that some of these leftover guys from last year are trying to carry forward, and there's a question of, which of these young guys can kind of humble themselves in a sense and get through that de-recruitment process quickly to where they're going to be able to take that instruction.
Graham, when you think about this Georgia team, obviously they replaced a lot. Everybody's replaced a lot, no matter what college campus you on. But do you sometimes be in awe of just how much talent Georgia has? There was no replacing Jordan Davis and Trevon Walker when you talk about what those guys in Kobe Dean and what they did. But to know they still got another 5-star ready to play and plug, and a guy that good couldn't play because the guy in front of him was just that elite.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for years, right? Like, people would ask me on Twitter, you would see on message boards, people being like, well, what's wrong with Channing Tindall? This guy was the number one player in his position in his recruiting class. And it's like, nothing was wrong with him. He was just behind a bunch of NFL linebackers, and he was an NFL linebacker too. So, I mean, the guys coming in, right? Like Marvin Jones Jr. and Mykel Williams, those are some freaky edge players that have that same kind of athletic ability that some of the guys who have left are, it's absurd to really think about the talent that's been stacked there, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. And I think that's why, I think fans a lot of times get caught up in, they read a practice report and it's like, well, why isn't this guy flashing or why isn't that guy flashing? And the reality is, like, you may have, 35 guys out there that are doing some good things in practice, but it's just a question of sort of how the rep share is shaking out that day, right?
Graham Coffee, dogsports.com. Speaking of rep shares, interesting. I haven't heard a lot of people talk about this because Georgia's been so deep at that position, and that's running back. You lose a couple of guys graduating. Not so much are they talented there, but how do you see Georgia splitting that up? They've kind of had the power back, the speed back, the receiving back, and they've kind of had guys with their roles. Are they looking to continue that, or do you think you'll see more of a feature back setup when it's all said and done?
Yeah, I mean, you have Kenny McIntosh and Kendall Milton, right? And those guys were part of that kind of 4-back rotation last year when everybody was healthy. I've heard a lot of really good things about Kenny McIntosh. I mean, he finished last year really strong, and I think has kind of just carried that over into spring ball. And he is that, scat back sort of skill set where he can go and line up in the slot and catch passes, but he's gotten a little bit of a physical edge to him with his running style over the last 12 months. And, that he's kind of come into his own, and he's a really unique package. And I think he's going to bring a skill set for Georgia where it's going to be hard to get him off the field. But between him and Kendall Milton, I think you have a clear 1 and 2. But, I mean, for 2 years now, I've heard great things about Daijun Edwards, and I know he's made some good runs and had some good moments in spring practice so far. I think, you've got Branson Robinson coming in, who is kind of maybe one of the closer things we've seen to like a high school Nick Chubb since Nick Chubb, right? Just in terms of the stuff he's doing in the weight room. So it'll be interesting to see if Robinson and Edwards can kind of push their way into that rotation, or if Robinson is able to supplant Edwards as sort of that third back. But I think you're going to see Daijun Edwards possibly get some carries early in the year against first-team defenses for the first time in his career, and I think it's going to surprise a lot of people what he does with those carries, because he's a guy that has really good vision, maybe not breakaway speed, but he's a one-cut-and-go kind of guy that's going to get you, those kind of consistent 8, 12-yard chunks, and that's how you run a productive offense.
Graham Coffee, dogsports.com, our guest here on 3 and Out. Graham, appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me on.
Appreciate it. Graham Coffee, a great breakdown of spring practice there at dogsports.com. By Graham, go check that out. We've got more to come here. It's 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you 3 and Out on this Tuesday. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, thanks for making us a part of your day. Kyle Glazer, Baseball America, will join us. Rich Stiles next hour will join us as well here on 3 and Out as we get ready for the Masters next week. And certainly the Tiger Watch is on, and we're tracking his plane and its movements, and it's in Augusta, and we know way too much about Tiger Woods and his private jet. But good chat with Graham Coffey and dogsports.com. Certainly a lot of people reading into the 3 guys getting first-team reps at quarterback and Stetson Bennett, this and that, BJ and Ben. But what do you think the expectations are? I kind of agree with Graham in that anything that happens in spring, you kind of have a known commodity in Stetson, so why not just let a lot of the other guys get as many reps as possible and see where they stand?
Yeah, it makes sense. I think the expectation, and certainly, Ben, you can speak to this better than me, but I think the expectation is you always want to get better. I'm sure Stetson Bennett would tell you that. I'm sure when he self-scouts or looks back on even a season that resulted in a national championship, he says, look, I could have done this better. I could have been more consistent here. So I think whether you're Brock Vandegrift, whether you're Carson Beck, and maybe you're trying to break into that starting lineup, or you're Stetson Bennett and you're trying to add to a storied legacy, I think you're always trying to get better. You heard Graham say, maybe the coaches are trying to give him a little bit of adversity to overcome. And you're talking about a guy that knows the program, knows what it takes to be successful at a championship level, knows the offense, understands what has to be done. So you rotate some guys through there and you kind of see what happens. But Ben, you've told me, look, when you're at the University of Georgia, when you're at a big-time program, you're always competing. You're always vying for opportunities. You're always having to look and see, oh, look, here's the new 5-star this or that. I mean, that's not just a quarterback. That's the 5-star defensive end, the 5-star defensive tackle, the 5-star linebacker, wide receiver, et cetera. So do I think Stetson Bennett will be the starting quarterback when Georgia opens up against Oregon? Yes. Yes, I do. But I think Stetson, of course, wants to get better, wants to polish his game, wants to improve his game. I'm sure he feels like there's another level he can get to. And if you're Kirby Smart, you're looking at Stetson Bennett and every other player and trying to get the absolute most out of them in spring.
Yeah, Stetson, my expectation for Stetson Bennett is to just continue to be himself. I think sometimes when we think about Stetson Bennett, yes, BJ, I like to go back and forth with you about a guy like Stetson Bennett. Stetson Bennett is college football. I make jokes about Stetson Bennett because Stetson Bennett lets you know that we have fixated our mind on a certain way. He has to look a certain way. Based off of what? Stetson Bennett might be bigger than Bryce Young. He might be bigger than him. And I think what happens with a guy like Stetson Bennett, it ain't the sexy look that we used to see. He ain't the 6'5", big arm quarterback. Georgia's already did that. They didn't win with him. He ain't David Green. He's not Aaron Murray, right? He's not Matthew Stafford. No, he won a natty. And those guys had some good teams too. I think what happens is when you talk about the spring is leaving no doubt. All you have in sports is trust. And you just want to build on it and build on it. Why? Because if you build on it, you play. And if you lose it, you don't. That's it. I don't care who you are. Players that play means those coaches trust them. If you are Stetson Bennett, you goes, y'all, people talking about JT Daniels. I saw Jamie Newman too. I'm not worried about Brock Vandegrift and those guys. Take nothing away from them. Look at what I had to do to just get on the field. I wasn't highly recruited by Georgia out of college. Georgia was the team I grew up wanting to play for. And when they finally gave me a shot, I never gave it up. Think about this. When Tom Brady got it, and I'm not comparing Stetson to Tom, when Tom Brady got his shot, he didn't give it up. That's what happens. When you get your shot, what you did with it. And they did everything they could to get Stetson out of there. And he just kept coming back. People thought that the glory years from Georgia was going to be the Jake Fromm years. And it is not. It is Stetson Bennett. And I just think that, and I'm not saying Georgia not going to have some great years past Stetson Bennett, but Stetson Bennett saying, look, man, I'm not trying to go against y'all recruiting classes, but until I leave, no one's going to get this position. That's every position in football. You didn't see Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis wasn't the player. He's leaving Georgia when he first got there. Stetson Bennett came in ready. So, BJ, you always talking about the stats and the QBR and the quarterback efficiency numbers. Everything you want from a quarterback, he checks off, except he's not 6'5". So for me, when I watch Stetson Bennett, he's out there saying, look, I hope these other guys go out there and make some wild throws. They here, but wild throws ain't wild play. I showed in a whole year. I beat Alabama. How many teams?
I think a wild throw is,
that is the wild throw.
The fourth quarter national championship.
Listen, I will say this.
That'll do it for most.
I will say this. That ain't Tua to Devonta Smith, but it ain't far off. It is not far. And isn't it significant? Last time was the SC Media Days in Atlanta. Kirby Smart, his guys in there with the SEC championship game, rings, bling, big old G, showing off. Who came in after them? That'll be Alabama. I will be shocked if this year Alabama comes in, and who comes in after them? The national champion. And because, like they said, man, winning the SEC and all these different things. But I think when I think about Stetson, BJ, it's this national narrative about Stetson Bennett that everybody has adopted. Well, guess what? He won it all. So he ain't Bryce Young. He ain't C.J. Stroud. But when he went up against Bryce Young for it all, what happened? And I'm not saying it's him versus Bryce, by the way. His team went up against his team. But if you're Stetson saying, look, man, if they take me out, guess what? Yeah, they're going to have to explain themselves.
But I think, to Graham's point about Stetson being a known commodity, I don't know that you have to go crazy over every Stetson Bennett throw in spring practice. Why? Well, you just saw him for a whole season, and you won the national championship.
You've seen him for 3 seasons.
Right.
Now.
You know Stetson Bennett. So if you have a rep and Stetson Bennett overthrows a receiver or throws a perfect pass, I don't know that changes everything about Stetson Bennett. You know what Stetson Bennett is. He's been one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the country. Whereas with Carson Beck, Brock Vandagriff, you haven't seen as much. So each throw you see in spring ball adds to the overall kind of resume of evaluation.
Like you said, coming into this year, if Stetson Bennett takes one bad lick from a defensive end, how much experience do you have at that quarterback spot? Got a lot of talent. Carson Beck played when it was, 42-0. Carson Beck came in and handed the ball off a lot. How many legitimate drives has Brock Vandagriff had to go on? And certainly after that, with Gunnar Stockton, he was playing high school football last year. So I think more you look at those kind of things, BJ and Ben, and say, if I'm Kirby Smart, I almost said Mark Richt. If I'm Kirby Smart, I got to find somebody that can be a serviceable number 2.
Yeah.
Because the number of reps, I mean, at least last year you say, okay, we're going to go with Stetson. But if it doesn't work out, the guy behind him started at USC. He's played with us. It will be okay. If Stetson goes out as not getting it done, you're going to 1 or 2 guys that in totality don't have a whole lot of live game meaningful snaps. They've played in garbage time, but have they played in, hey, it's 3rd and 7, I got to make a
try
throw.
to kind of facilitate that.
You want to see that. You have to see that. I mean, I think Kevin makes a great point. The most loved player at any school is the backup quarterback. That's any player. But that's something to say is you say to yourself, if the quarterback goes out, can we still achieve our goals? Most teams, you cannot. But if you are Georgia, you're saying to yourself, well, we don't got it. We don't got time to be trying to figure it out if Stetson goes out. Stetson has proven to be sometimes, a little, he has gotten injured when it happens to everybody. But I do agree. Sometimes competing for second is a good thing. I think they're going to have to figure out who's going to be that number 2 guy. That should make the competition really, really good.
We've got more to come here on 3 and Out. Take 3 right around the corner. Kyle Glazer, Rich Stiles coming up next hour as well. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here, 3 and Out. Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, BJ Bennett. Glad you're with us here on the program. Kyle Glazer, Baseball America. Rich Styles is going to join us coming up next hour as well. Guys, we're getting into the spring season, and it's ice cream time, right? Saw an ad for cotton candy ice cream. Cotton candy ice cream. Would you eat that?
No.
I didn't think so. Like, we're trying to overthink it too much.
No. I mean, no, make no mistake.
Not doing that.
Make no mistake about it now. When it comes to ice cream, I'm going to say yes way more than I'm going to say no. I'm going to try it before I won't try it. But there are certain things that do not have to be made into something else. Cotton candy is good by itself. You don't got to make it cold.
No. Cotton candy is outstanding by itself.
Cotton candy is that deal. Okay? Give me the sticky fingers, right? It gets all like sticky when it's almost done. No, Kevin, we all have children. That's not going on in this household. Why? Because I'm not dealing with it.
What is the texture? I mean, like, I have a hard time envisioning cotton candy as ice cream because it's light, it's airy, it's sugary, it's immediate, right? It's like you put it in your mouth, it's gone.
Yeah.
Well, imagining it as ice cream is something I struggle with. The sugar and
that's double sugar because it's already really, really sweet by itself. I don't know. I mean, I think certain things need to be left alone, and I think cotton candy is one of them.
Okay, top ice cream flavors go.
Top ice cream flavor to me. I mean, I'm always gonna start right there at the top, man. I mean, I think it's cookies and cream. I mean, that's always been one of the favorites of mine. I'm a Reese cup enthusiast ice cream. And look, man, you give me that double chocolate.
Here we go. How long?
Listen, I'll throw those other two away. If it's a double chocolate, double fudge ice cream, move out my way.
What about the cookie dough?
Cookie dough is good. Listen, I am a big fan, and this is the bougie part of me. I do like cheesecake ice cream. It is excellent day. Love it. Kevin, double fudge?
No, not making the list. Not making the list. I have the cookies. Cookie dough is up there. You have the cookies and cream, and of course, does it even need to be said? Butterfinger ice cream.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Yes.
I like it. No, I like it.
I'm like you. I'd rather go with the Reese's cup ice cream.
See, as much as I like chocolate peanut butter, Reese's cup downgrade. Don't like it for whatever reason.
Never
been able to find a brand
Oreo ice cream. Whoa,
and straight
that's cookies and cream.
And straight. And
yeah,
I mean, shout out to the homie Willie Jackson. Of the Florida Gators used to go to his crib and clear out his whole freezer. A strawberry ice cream connoisseur. He would always come to the crib. Man, who ate my ice cream? I said, these people are savages. He said, yeah, you got some ice cream on the side of your face. Oh, that's mine. I just bought that though. So yeah, strawberry ice cream was always delicious.
Not to be underrated. The cookies and cream ice cream sandwich.
Yeah,
on top of yes, very good.
Please, we could do a whole show.
Yeah, let's very good. I mean, it's moving into that time of year where ice cream is like it. You got to have it. It's warming up, getting springtime, summertime. You got to have ice cream out there. We've got more to come. Take 3 right around the corner. Kyle Glazer next hour. Baseball America. Talking baseball with him, and Rich Styles, host of the Back Nine Boys Golf Show, will join us as well here on 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here, 3 and Out on this Tuesday. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, busy hour number 2 upcoming. We'll chat with Rich Stiles of the Back Nine Boys Golf Show. Could we have a tiger sighting at Augusta National? He'll join us coming up in about 30 minutes here on the program. Also, Kyle Glazer, Baseball America, will join us. We'll talk about the baseball season getting underway in a little more than a week. Next Thursday, Braves are back in action. Just moved the game time to 8 o'clock national TV.
That's right.
For the Braves and Reds opening up. Braves obviously coming back. I don't know if the rings, I'm assuming the ring ceremony is there on that opening night with the folks that are still there getting that World Series ring. I think the first 40,000 fans through the gate get a replica of the World Series ring.
Whoa.
They had it all blotched out.
Kevin,
on the,
are you going to be here next week? I mean, just let us know
actually,
right now.
Will not be here next
Isn't
week.
he on vacation?
Listen. And for those of you who know, when Kevin say on vacation, that means out of the country. He do not spend his time in the States.
We can't find him. We can't get in touch with him.
I mean, Kevin, go listen.
The only person that can find me is former producer Jim Johnson, who stalks me like I'm Russell Westbrook.
Let me tell you something. Kevin said I got that all-inclusive badge. I will be somewhere over the Atlantic or the Pacific, depending on where he is.
Yeah, that one time Jim came in here, he's like, "Oh yeah, Russ is on vacation this week," and I'm like, "What? What is going on?" Anyways, we got so much to get to here on the show. Let's get to take 3, shall we? Here on 3 and Out. All right, fellas, take 1 here on this Tuesday. How many blue bloods are there in college basketball? We keep hearing this. The Final Four is full of blue bloods. How many blue bloods do you think there are in college basketball?
All right. I think we all agree on what? 5 when you're talking about UCLA, North Carolina, Duke, Kansas, Kentucky, right? Wouldn't that be 5 that we all agree? And I think you guys may think that's about it.
Yep.
I think you probably have to put Louisville in the conversation, UConn, Villanova. Now, I don't want to, I mean, is Indiana? I know Indiana hasn't been elite recently, but I think when you ask this question, you have to define it first. And Kevin, as you have said, everybody says it's a Final Four full of blue bloods. Well, when they say that, they include Villanova?
Nope.
I don't think most people do.
I mean, Villanova has, and I understand its history, tradition, but I was doing some research. Villanova has 2 national championships in the last 5 years. They won a national championship in the 80s, and the NCAA tournament started in 1930, and they've been in the NCAA tournament every decade. So the 30s, 40s, 50s, all the way through. If that's not there, I would have to ask what is kind of standing in the way from Villanova being a blue blood. I think the 5 we agree on. I would say Louisville. I mean, Louisville, off the top of my head, what? 3 national championships?
Mm-hmm.
Villanova has 3. I believe UConn has 4. I mean, if you're saying 4 national championships, you're not in that conversation. I'm willing to listen. I could go either way, but I think 5 are locks, and then I think there are 3 or 4 that are right there. But I think Villanova, UConn, Louisville, Indiana are kind of those. Once you get past the first 5, they at the very least have to be in consideration.
I mean, I like Louisville. I mean, I can hear you. I like UConn and I like Villanova, but they're not blue bloods. I mean, just because you can have you have incredible programs out there. I'm not taking away that they are some of the top-notch programs. That don't mean you blue bloods. Blue bloods to me is this.
But this is what I'm asking. Let's take Villanova for example. Right. Just because I remember what I read about them. I'm losing some of my facts about UConn and Louisville. What is preventing Villanova from being in that conversation?
I think with Villanova, for me, while they have been really, really good, they just don't sound like a team that's a part of the college basketball fabric. When I think blue bloods,
because you always talk about telling the story, right? And a lot of people think that Villanova's run in the 80s, I think it was 88 or something, when they were an 8 or 9 seed to the national championship, is one of the great stories. So, can you tell the story of the NCAA tournament without Villanova? I don't think you can.
Maybe not, but once again, BJ,
and then 2 national titles in the last 5 years. Yeah. You're in the Final Four this year. Yeah. I mean, all right, if they win it this year, are they won?
No, they're just really good. They just really consistent. I mean, think about this. I mean, not to get off. I mean, when I think about ACC football, the first thing that jump out my mind is not Clemson, it's Florida State. But Clemson has been better as of late, but they are not what Florida State is to the ACC. That doesn't mean that Clemson isn't good. But for me, this is what I think when I think blue blood. There are people who do not watch college basketball, but they know about these schools. They're like, oh, dude, Coach K. And, you know, you talk about North Carolina and Indiana. When you talk about, you know, Kansas,
you think Indiana is?
Absolutely, yes. Indiana is a blue. You don't got to. This is what I'm going to say, man. And I hate these things. When you got guys that got movies about them, the reason why they do movies about certain teams is because that's how influential they are, not just to their sport in college, but to, you know, people like, look, hey man, even to the entertainment industry, people need to know about these things. BJ, we talk about you talk about all the time. One of my favorite movies, The Program. What team were they trying to emulate? Florida State. There's a reason why, right? I just think that while Villanova is incredible,
Indiana's got 5 national titles.
Listen,
Yeah, so they're probably right there.
While I'm saying this, listen, Louisville is incredible. UConn is incredible. Villanova is incredible. They're not blue blood. That doesn't mean they're not a part of college basketball's fabric. That don't mean they are what people mean when they say blue bloods is prestigious. Everybody don't get an invite. Sorry. Everybody can't just be in the club because you've been good. But when I think about Carolina, people are like, yep. When I think about, you know, Kansas and India, yes. Coach K and Duke, yes. And that doesn't mean that other, you know, UCLA, and mind you, UCLA is living off the legacy of the back in the day.
Well,
but
they were in the national title game last year.
But what I'm saying,
right?
But yes, but
Final Four.
They were not in the national.
But what I'm saying is, look,
it was Gonzaga and last year was Gonzaga and Baylor.
Yeah. They were in the Final Four.
The hall is very good. It's packed. The blue blood club is not. It is prestigious. Sorry, we only got 6 cards. I don't care who you came with. Louisville, no, man. Coach K said we could. No, he did not. You cannot come in here. That doesn't mean they're not good, though.
Wow.
Now, BJ, now, could this list get bigger? Maybe.
Not much bigger.
Exactly, because I think what happens is, listen, if I was born in the 2000s, I think Clemson is the greatest thing smoking in the ACC.
If you were born in the 2000s, UConn has won 4 national titles since '99.
Listen, and congratulations. If somebody say UConn, tell the truth. If people mention UConn basketball, how many people think they talk about women?
No, that's a dynasty. That is the dynasty.
So all I'm saying is you have been incredible. You're not a blue blood. That is not a slight, right? That is just what it is.
I agree with Ben. I'm going to say what? Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, Kentucky, and they all wear blue, by the way. Duke, North Carolina,
You're saying
Kansas,
no on
Kentucky.
Indiana.
No, I think Indiana is there because, again, I think you have the history, you have the tradition. I think they've been wearing those candy cane warm-up pants since the 1940s or something like that. They have a passionate fan base. Carolina, Duke, Kansas, like they love basketball. They made a movie
and Villanova.
Yes, they made a movie about Indiana high school basketball. Why? And the first thing the coach says, I thought every boy in Indiana picked up a basketball and played basketball. That's why I put them in there, because they have the culture, the winning, the history, all of it. Not again with Ben. Yeah, they have 4 titles. Same thing about UConn. They have 4 titles in the last 20 years, and that's great. I appreciate that. They haven't been as consistently good as all those other programs that I mentioned in that blue blood category, where it is ingrained in the school. I mean, Kentucky, Carolina, Duke, Indiana, UCLA, they have thousands and thousands of people show up at midnight to watch a practice. Do they have 10,000 people showing up at Villanova? I'm not saying that's the criteria. I'm just saying
if Villanova wins it this year, still no for you?
Yes.
So there's what could they possibly do? What would they have to do?
We have to grease the hinges on the doors to the Blue Blood Club, has been said. We don't just let anybody in. The door don't open for everybody. I think there is a big select. If I were to go ask people, name as many Blue Bloods of college basketball, I don't think you're getting more than 5 or 6 schools from people. I really don't. And I think most people would say what I said. You know, UCLA, John Wooden going back, Kentucky. I mean, people know all about Kentucky, Kansas, Duke, Carolina. I think most people would name those and stop. I throw Indiana in there because I think they kind of fall in. But I'm leaving it at that. Very small list. Let's move on. Take 2. Do you like the new overtime rule in the NFL where both teams get the ball? That was put forth to the owners. They voted on it. And it's going to happen just in the postseason, not going to change in the regular season. But somebody said, well, what happens if the 15 minutes runs out? The other team hadn't got the ball. Well, that'd be one heck of a drive. But yes, the other team would still get the ball, even though there's technically no time left. So do you like the new overtime rules for the playoffs that the owners passed today.
Yes. And I get being your argument going back to when we discussed this right after the playoff games. You can play defense. Defense is part of football. But I don't like the fact that, at least in theory, you could have a situation where only one team gets the ball solely because of a coin flip. Like, I think we have to be able to come up with a better system than that. I think we have to be able to say to both teams, hey, your chance was there. And yes, I get you can play defense. I know Mike Tomlin was talking about that, but I think there's something to be said for you get a chance, you get a chance. The NFL is a quarterback-driven league. I think everybody, if you're in an overtime, wants to see Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Dak Prescott, Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes. You want to see these guys with the football. You want to see the star players have a chance to make plays. So I think any system you have, you're going to be able to say, yeah, but what about this? Or I don't like this aspect of it. But I do like the fact that you're going to see both offenses get a chance.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, the thing about it is, BJ, even going back to what you didn't like, I mean, it was Pat Mahomes got the ball in overtime against, against Buffalo and against Josh Allen. Those guys went down and scored game over. The very next week, they hit the ball in overtime against Cincinnati. Cincinnati gets the pick, goes down, wins the game. I like it for this reason. Football, everybody should get an opportunity to go out there and show both sides of the ball what they do. If only one offense and one defense goes out there because the offense just had a better series, and the opposing offense don't get to come out there, I've never ever been a fan of it, but I understood it. Because what if my defense is better than my offense? What if I want to put my defense out there because they just happen to be the strength of my team? But I think now you make it more of it fair, and the postseason always is going to move the needle more, because that's when these games count, way much more, because it's a one-game tournament. But yes, competition committee, I think they did get it right with this, but you still can't do the wedge on kickoffs, and I think that's a travesty as well.
Yeah, I like it. Again, what other sport do you not get a chance to? I mean, I guess technically in hockey, if you take the face-off and go right down and score in 2 seconds, I guess there's that. Same with soccer, but you will at least get a chance to touch the ball. I just look at it the way it is, where it's the sudden death in a sport like football. If you've had a dominant offensive day and your offense never goes on the field, and their pathetic defense never has to go on the field, well, what do we do? We're going to lose the game because our defense had to go out there first, and that's it? And as somebody said, you take the importance away from the coin flip. And I think, to me, that's the big reason you do this. And people say, well, what about take the importance off the coin flip? I saw something they said in the playoffs, they've had 10 overtimes in the playoffs. The team that won the coin flip won the game 7 out of 10 times. And I think 6 of those 7, the other team never touched the ball. So 60% of the time you lose the coin flip, you will not touch the ball on offense. Is that a fair way to decide a game? I mean, think about this. Let's say we come down to Duke, Carolina, and we go to overtime on Saturday in the Final Four. We have the tip-off, Duke wins it, and they get a layup. Game over. North Carolina never gets to take a shot. Is that deciding the game? Like that's how we determine a game that was tied up after 40 minutes of basketball? That's how we determine who's the better? Kind of what I don't like about college football. Hey, we went back and forth for 4 quarters. We're tied. And now we're going to put it on the 25. I mean, case in point. Maybe I could go with you if it was Virginia Tech Wake a couple years ago. It's 0-0 after regulation. My God, they may not be able to score from the 25. But I mean, when you have certain games like this where you're going, hey, we have a dominating defense and we are playing great, and now we're in overtime.
Taking that advantage away.
And you're putting the ball on the 25. Name me a program in the top 50. I could probably expand. Name me a program in the top 100 of Division I college football that put the ball on the 25. They're not sitting there going, we got at least 3 points. And maybe you could say all 130 of them feel that way if you put the ball on the 25. If we do not get a yard, we got 3 points. And I don't think that's a great way to decide. I would like to have teams offensively have to move the ball a little bit. That's neither here nor there. All right, moving along. Take 3. Baseball starts a little more than a week. Rank the NL East as you see it.
Braves won. I'm going to be maybe a little bit different than you guys. I'm going to say Philadelphia too. There's something about the Mets. I mean, Kevin has long said it's the Mets when breaking down the Mets, and I think there's just a little pause there. I know they spent a lot of money, but I'll go New York 3. I think Miami 4. I like the pitching staff the Marlins have. And I'm going to go with the Nats last. So Braves, Phillies, Mets, Marlins, Nationals.
Obviously, I'm going to go with the Braves first. I think that when it comes to the Mets, I think they're going to be a lot more competitive. I think they're getting tired of being, a team that's just underachieving when they usually have, if not the best, some of the best pitchers in baseball. Definitely one of the best in the NL East. BJ, I mean, I'm going to go with the Phillies third. I think the Phillies are a team that's they got the star power. I mean, they got it in all phases. It's just that, I mean, when you got to deal with teams like the Braves, I think, they just fizzle out towards the end. Obviously, I'm gonna go with the Marlins, 4 because the Nats. Well, I don't know what's going on with Strasburg. I mean, Strasburg is in the lineup. I mean, they got a chance. But I mean, every other year though, did he play last year? But that means he's not playing this year. That's just how it goes. He's not allowed to play back-to-back years. But yes, I will go with the Marlins 4th and the Nats 5th. But I will say the Braves being number 1. This will be arguably one of the best divisions in baseball this year. When you talk about what the Mets did in the offseason trying to bring over, Scherzer going with the Grom. But at the end of the day, why would I pick anybody but the Braves? Because the last 4 years they won the division. I don't see that being any different this year.
I have the Braves doing it again. I think they are still the best team. Phillies too. I think they've gone out and spent money in the right spots and are very tough. I mean, top to bottom, as tough a hitting lineup as I think the Braves have. Mets 3. I think the Marlins are going to surprise a few people. And before Nationals, just not deep enough. They're still going to be good, just not deep enough, going to finish 5th. That's Take 3. We do it every day this time. We'll come back. Kyle Glazer, Baseball America, joins us next here on 3 and Out, all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here, 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Rich Stiles set to join us coming up in just a little bit. We're efforting Kyle Glaser, Baseball America, to join us here on the program as we are a little bit more than a week out from the start of the baseball season. Just following up there on our last Take 3 question with the National League East. We all like the Braves. I know you could say, hey, maybe obviously there's a little bias here, but I think the Braves, by and large, people say maybe have the best bullpen in baseball. Their lineup, when you get Acuna back, is still very, very good. If there's a question mark right now, starting rotation. And not so much the guys at the top, but how do you finish up spots 4 and 5? And apparently the Braves are going to go with a 6-man rotation here early in the season. So how do you pair up spots 4, 5, and 6 in that scenario? But to me, it stacks up very favorably. Now, the Mets, you got DeGrom and Scherzer. After that, Taijuan Walker's a good pitcher. Their lineup's pretty good. But again, BJ Bent, the Mets have had injury problems all throughout their lineup and their pitching rotation for years. So until they get that figured out and you don't have injuries all the time in your pitching rotation, who's to say Max Scherzer and DeGrom make it the whole way, or any of those guys behind them for that matter? I do think the Braves lineup on the field is a little bit better than the Mets. But again, I think the team nobody's really talking about is Philadelphia. They've really gone out and done a great job of shoring up their roster. You're talking about Rio Muto, Rhys Hoskins, Gene Segura, Alec Boehm, Gregorius, Castellanos, who could hit for power, Schwarber as a DH, Bryce Harper. I mean, that's a very, very good hitting lineup.
Yeah, and I think the X factor, as you said, is the bullpen for a lot of these teams. I think when you have franchises like the Mets and Phillies and the Braves and the Nats, they're going to spend money, and you're going to have big time stars in the lineup and starting pitchers. But what about the bullpens? And that's where, to your point, I think the Braves are a lot better. I think relatively speaking, Philadelphia has some questions with their bullpen. Relatively speaking, I think the Mets have some questions with their bullpen. Atlanta, even with Luke Jackson right now having not pitched in the spring, and I don't think he's going to be ready to go.
Forearm tightness.
Yeah, which is concerning, but I don't think you're going to see Luke Jackson necessarily in the next month. And with all due respect to Luke, who's been fantastic, I think you're going to be fine. And that just goes to show how good the Braves bullpen is, where you can lose a guy that was all-star good last year. I mean, Luke Jackson was unhittable for stretches last year. You still have Kenley Jansen. You still have Will Smith. You still have A.J. Minter. You still have Tyler Matzik. You still have multiple guys with closing experience who you can run out there and trust. You still have Colin McHugh, who is one of the best relievers in baseball, who you added in addition to Kenley Jansen. So yes, with the Braves, there's a question about Acuna. Do we see him in the month of April? Is it not until the month of May? You do have, again, relative questions. I'll use that phrase at the 4 and 5 spot, although I think people are sleeping on I really think he's going to have a great year, but the Braves bullpen is excellent on paper. And I think Philadelphia, there's a question mark. I think New York, there's a question mark. And some people may be listening, y'all are hating on the Nationals. I think Washington is a good team, but I think their problem is they're in a great division.
Yeah. And
maybe if they're in another division, it's a different reality. But Ben, you mentioned what's going on with Steven Strasburg. I mean, how do you know what to expect there? Patrick Corbin, I know they paid him a lot of money. He has not been awesome. He's been okay. Anibal Sanchez, back of that order, that rotation. He's a guy that's getting up there in age. I mean, you like Josh Bell. I think there are some guys you like, but Nelson Cruz, obviously Juan Soto's a star, but does that batting order have the depth of the Braves, Mets, or Phillies? I don't think so. I think the Nats are going to struggle some.
Yeah, I think the thing about it is when people ask why the Braves are who they are, when you talk about just playing teams like the Dodgers or playing teams like Houston, look at what they have to deal with. I mean, who can hit off the ground in baseball? I mean, when you think about, so I do think that baseball to me is always, making it to fifth, sixth inning. Who has the best bullpen? And to me, that is the Braves. I mean, the one thing about this Braves team that can't be talked about enough is everything that was a weak point. Maybe Anthopoulos guy, he just gets to let me work on this and I'm gonna move to that. Let me work on this and I'm gonna move to that. The last thing he worked on was the bullpen, and now the Braves might have the best bullpen in baseball when you think about it. But I think the thing about the Nats, I always go with the health of Strasburg. They sink and swim. When he's healthy, they won the freaking World Series. I'm not saying it was all because of him, but I know, BJ, you won me over with the starting pitching. Look, man, if I got a guy like Strasburg and they had a lineup that was very, very tough, they went out there and got it done. I think what happens is Philly paid the money. They haven't got the result yet. The Mets paid the money when you talk about pitchers haven't got the result yet. The Marlins are going to be a sneaky good team this year. The Braves and the Nats have both won it in the last, 3 or 4 years. So I think that when you look at this NL East as a whole, the Braves are the hunted. I think they've been the hunted regardless, even when the Nats was coming off the World Series. I think right now is, do they have staying power? Because BJ and Kevin, what I've noticed, because I look at trends in baseball. If you can keep your starting pitching, if you can keep your starting pitching healthy, you got a shot to be really, really good. The thing is, and I hate to look at it like this, who can stand to lose a starter, a starting pitcher, and still stay afloat? I think the Braves, obviously you're waiting on Mike Soroka to get back, and whenever he's going to get back, I think the Mets, if they lose one of their two, they're done. Because at the end of the day, you put so much on. Scherzer, yeah, he's great. He's only got 30 games. He's not going to give you more than that.
That's if he's good to go.
But I'm just saying, when I look at the NL East, right, I'm picking the Braves because, I think I'm looking at recent trends, but it's going to be difficult. It is going to be difficult coming out of this division this year because nowadays, when you say to yourself, the Braves don't spend as much as the Phillies, they definitely don't spend as much on pitchers like the Mets do. Obviously, the Marlins said, look, we ain't spending no G's. We going to go out there and play. We ain't spending no money. And obviously, the health of Strasburg, but yet the Braves' way of doing things, not just in the NL East, but in baseball, is working. Now, obviously, that was with Freddie Freeman, right? Him not being there now, which I think they're going to be just fine. Olsen, like I said, first game of the year, I'm not talking about Freddie anymore, but I just think this NL East is going to be very, very difficult. And I think, look, it's not going to be, as you say, Kevin, it ain't going to be no easy wins. You want to get them in the win. It ain't going to be no easy
wins.
But
do you think the Mets, because you mentioned a couple of teams that have won championships. Atlanta, championship.
Yeah.
Nats, recent championship.
Yes.
Phillies, we're not that far removed from a couple of championships, a couple of championship runs.
Yeah.
Are the Mets looking around going, it's our time?
And the Marlins back.
Not that long ago. Yeah.
So, and the Marlins I think the Marlins made the playoffs in the
short year,
COVID short year. So we'll see. I think one thing that's coming, not this year, but next year, is when you get rid of the unbalanced schedule and you don't play as much in the East. That I think that actually is going to benefit teams like the Braves and Phillies to not have to play each other as often. But for this year, man, I really think the Braves have a lineup, a bullpen to get it done. And I think the starting pitching is good enough to keep you in games, turn it over to those guys at the back end, and you're going to win an awful lot of games there in the National League East. But to me, I think the team that spent the most money, and we've seen it, just because you spend the most money doesn't mean you're guaranteed to win. I think that's going to be the Mets, where they've spent a lot of money. Is it going to translate into winning the division? I don't think so. And we got more to come here. We'll talk with Rich Stiles. Is there going to be a Tiger sighting at the Masters? Oh, he's at Augusta National. But will he play the Masters? We'll talk to Rich Stiles next. It's 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here, 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, BJ Bennett, Ben Troop. Glad you are with us here on the show. Golf this week, you got the Club Car Championship coming up at the Landings Club, and you also have the Masters coming up in another week. And joining us here to talk about all that is Tiger turning the golf world on its head. Rich Stiles, host of the Back Nine Boys Golf Show. Rich, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful in New Orleans for the week. It's trying to get Final Four tickets, but I'm not sure it's going to happen.
not going to happen, most likely, Rich, but something that is shaking everybody up, and everybody's going, is it going to happen? And that's Tiger Woods at the Masters. Apparently, we're tracking private planes. His private plane lands in Augusta. He's playing a practice round at Augusta. Gut feeling, is he playing, or is Tiger just testing it out to see if he can go?
I think he's testing it out to see if he can go. I mean, the big key is he'll get done playing today. He may practice a little bit. The key is, how is he going to feel tomorrow morning? When he wakes up, how sore is he going to be? Is he going to be sore at all? And unlike other tournaments, Tiger does not have to do anything, except he doesn't have to inform them by Friday, which is usually what happens on a PGA tournament. All Tiger has to do is show up on Thursday for his tee time. If he doesn't show up, he has to inform them that he's not going to show up prior to the Thursday tee time. So he really has till next week in order to let them know if he's going to play or not. But he and his caddy, Joe LaCava, I think, are just trying to feel it out, kind of see how he feels. But I think the key is how's he going to feel tomorrow morning.
Rich, given the media coverage, the excitement today, I mean, I know it's still the Masters, but how much of a letdown would there be, just given how much people are talking about Tiger Woods a month or a week in advance of the tournament if he ends up not playing in the Masters?
Well, remember, he parked his yacht over at the St. Simon's Marina, and everybody thought he was going to go and show up at the Heritage, and he never did. He was just there. He was there for 2 weeks. He never did go to the Heritage. I think there'd be disappointment if Tiger didn't show, but I think the key is people want him to be healthy. They want him to be able to play. And if he is healthy and he feels good tomorrow morning, there's a slight chance that I think that he'll play. But I'm probably 60-40 that he's not.
Rich, I mean, obviously Tiger Woods, I mean, whenever he is the face of golf, he is golf. Have you ever seen a player that just moves the needle like a guy like Tiger Woods? Obviously, as you mentioned, the fans want to have him out there healthy, but have you ever seen somebody that meant so much to one sport like a guy like Tiger Woods?
Oh, yeah, Michael Jordan. But not a lot can say that, except I think of Michael Jordan and a Tiger Woods. I mean, they move the needle. They move the TV audience. They move the sponsors. They increase the unbelievable prize package, the prize money for each of the PGA Tours, which they have over the last 20 years. I mean, the PGA Tour is now offering unbelievable amounts of money if you happen to have a great chance to win. But Tiger does move the needle in a lot of places.
Rich Stiles, Back Nine Boys Golf Show, joining us. And Rich, you said 60-40, you think he doesn't, but you look at where he's at. I mean, this is the Masters. Tiger Woods obviously wants to go out and compete at the highest level. I mean, is there something that even if he is healthy, is he saying, I'm not going to go out there and embarrass myself either? Like, does he play if he doesn't think he can be one of the factors in Sunday afternoon there at Augusta?
No, I don't think Tiger's too competitive to just go out there and see if he can put up a good number. I think Tiger is not going to play unless he feels 100% or pretty close to it that he's going to be able to survive 4 days or 2 days even, providing he makes the cut. But 2 days of walking around Augusta National, which is one of the hilliest golf courses in the country and also one of the hardest. So I think it's going to be, a key to him feeling right and being able to be close to 100% that he's going to be able to make it and be able to play the Masters. Remember, he has not played a full PGA tournament since the 2020 Masters, which was in November. And even then, he was there, but that was his last full tournament, and that was the one that Dustin Johnson won.
Rich, is this what's happening now? Tiger coming to Augusta, playing a practice round. Was that expected, or is today kind of news in and of itself, regardless of if he plays next week?
Well, I wish I was in those circles to be able to tell you the truth on that. I have no idea. I think that, Tiger has been trying to play, and Tiger's been trying to practice and trying to see what he can and can't do. And, I think he kind of, sat back and said, hey, I'm not feeling too bad. I did play in the father-son, and, I had one bad day, but I kind of came back. And I think the key is, as we said, is he going to be able to survive 4 rounds at the Masters, or 2 rounds if he doesn't make the cut? But, Tiger is incredible. He has come back from many surgeries and to win. He's just an incredible human being that has that drive and that ability to recover after several back surgeries, knee surgeries. He's amazing.
And Rich, the rest of the field that's going to be in the Masters. Obviously, they can hear about Tiger being in Augusta, trying to, trying to play around the golf, see if he's able. What is their mindset? I mean, obviously, they a guy like Tiger Woods moves the needle. Are they rooting for him to be able to play in it? Does it take some of the shine away from them? How do you think their mentality is? I understand that Tiger Woods could indeed potentially play next week.
I think if Tiger plays, it's Tiger playing. I think the other guys that are here that are playing good and really have a chance to win the Masters, which could be any one of 15 to 25 people, I think they're worried about their game. You can't worry about who else is going to play or who is going to show up or, who might shoot a lower round than you. You have to play the golf course. You have to play your game, your shot. They would probably love to have him there because it would probably be a great thing for, TV ratings and all that other kind of stuff. But the Masters is going to be, it only comes once a year. I mean, it is the Masters. And I mean, it's going to have a large TV audience and everybody's going there because they earned the right and they want to win.
Rich Stiles, host of the Back Nine Boys Golf Show, joining us. Rich, you got the Club Car Championship Corn Ferry Tour event going on at the Landings this week. That's a fun event, and I know last year we were able to have the fans back, but one of those events that does it right for the local fans that come out and take it in there at the Landings Club.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big deal for Savannah to have this tournament come back. Club Car as well. I mean, the Club Car Championship, Dalton Ward from St. Simon's, Sea Island, qualified on Monday, so he's going to be in the tournament. So are some locals like Ben Griffin, Spencer Ralston, UGA, with one of the local caddies along with him. So, it's a great Corn Ferry event. Sam Burns, a couple of years ago, who is now hot on the PGA Tour, won the Club Car Championship a couple of years ago. So, I mean, those guys are just one shot, one stroke, one hole away from being on the PGA Tour. I mean, these guys, they're just as good as the guys on the PGA Tour. They just need to win and win some money, win some tournaments.
Great event coming up this week, Rich. Rich, I know you're going to be out there on Sunday from the Club Car Championship. And before we go along and let you go, Rich, I mean, what is this? You're out there taking gimmies from Sean Payton on the golf course? What's going on?
Well, we were playing golf on a city course and the Bayou Oaks, and we were playing, and all of a sudden, one of the folks that we were playing with, who's a big New Orleans Saints fan, saw him over there, and we drove over, and he was very cordial, very nice, very accommodating to be able to have us interrupt, he said, the money hole. Who knows? And whether or not he won, we don't know that either. But he was very nice and cordial and took a picture with us. And it was just, you never know who you're going to run into.
Yeah. So Rich, if you're playing Sean Payton, who's got a Super Bowl championship, I mean, if you got a little scratch riding on the hole, you making him putt it out? Or are you saying that's a gimme? You go, no, Coach, I think you need to putt that out.
I'd probably make him putt it out.
No gimmies for the Super Bowl winner. Hey, Rich, we appreciate. Go ahead. What?
No, I was going to say I'd take the putt, but I make him putt it.
Rich Stiles, Back Nine Boys Golf Show, joining us. Rich, we appreciate it. Thanks so much.
All right, guys, take care.
Appreciate it. Rich Stiles joining us here. He'll be from the Corn Ferry Tours Club Car Championship there on Sunday morning. You can tune in for Rich with that. But yeah, Tiger has set the golf world ablaze today just by showing up at Augusta and playing a practice round.
Amazing. I mean, one of the biggest names in sports, and you think about what he's accomplished. You think about the fact that if he plays, I mean, even having not played in quite some time, I think the expectations are he's going to be there on Sunday. I think that's Tiger Woods. So just incredible, one of the greatest athletes of all time. And yeah, that's all everybody's talking about, Tiger Woods.
If Tiger Woods finds a way to get out there on Sunday, I mean, once again, it's going to be one of the best comebacks. I mean, he's already the best story in 2020 coming back and winning the Masters with everything he dealt with his injuries. If he is there on Sunday, I know it's going to be about the Masters, but it's going to be about Tiger Woods first and foremost.
We've got more to come here. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Hit us up on Twitter at Pigskin Radio. We're also streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com, and on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Good to have you back here. 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, BJ Bennett, Ben Troop. Glad you are with us. Bob Herrick, SI.com, will join us in the final hour. Also, Anthony Dasher, UGAsports.com. We have found Kyle Glazer, Baseball America. He will join us in the final hour. So a full, jam-packed hour 3 today of 3 and Out. Coming up, we're talking golf, football, baseball, and all things in between with those 3 gentlemen. But tomorrow, BJ, you've been going to be at a book signing down in Fernandina. So if you have some folks listening or are going to be heading down that way, you can check out Ben and BJ book signing of Uncommon and Unfinished tomorrow. So the world tour continues for you two.
It's going to be exciting.
Signing the books.
Yep, we will be in Fernandina Beach at Story and Song Bookstore in Fernandina Beach. Ben, you're going to speak to the Rotary Club and a couple of book signings, but looking forward to that. And if anybody's going to be in the area, we would love to see you. But I know it's going to be exciting tomorrow.
It is going to be exciting. I think when you take on undertaking like a book, you have really no idea what type of different environments you're gonna find yourself in, BJ. And hey, when it comes to a book, it's a lifelong thing. It's something that you're gonna always be able to have. I'm looking forward to doing it. Hopefully it's gonna be the first of many. Fernandina Beach, looking forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. I mean, 2 different locations we're gonna be at, but yes, I mean we are gonna be at the Story and Song in Fernandina Beach tomorrow. We're gonna be talking about the book. And I will say this. BJ will say something tomorrow. I
like that you have to speak. See, I can just get up and talk. I'm glad to be here. Here's Ben.
No. But then what starts happening is somebody says, but it says with BJ Ben. I'm like, yeah, he's right there.
Yeah, I'm here, but Ben's talking.
BJ is the ghost writer.
Yeah,
as in he's not there.
Ben's gonna handle it.
Is that how it works?
It's gonna be fun. It's truly it's truly humbling when you think about the fact that my book is gonna be, we're gonna get a chance to talk about it, and hopefully. Hey, hopefully we'll be able to, meet a lot of new people, man, get a chance to really just converse back and forth. We are a part of the author community these days, and hey, it's truly, truly humbling to be able to have something that people look forward to, enjoying some great feedback, some great testimonials. I mean, I appreciate you guys. Obviously, books are still available as well at BenTroop84.com.
And I think in honor of tomorrow, we're going to give one away.
Yes,
it's been a while.
It has been a while.
I thought you said we were going to wait until the Falcons win the Super Bowl.
No.
He wants to give away a book.
Yeah, exactly. I want to give away a book. But
are you saying that Marcus Mariota, Auden Tate, and
Kyle
Alameda Zacchaeus are not going to bring it home?
Yes, all the starting receivers
see, that's where BJ is. He's got Auden Tate.
Yeah, Auden Tate.
No, I know him. He went to Florida State. He was with Cincinnati.
Now he started for Atlanta.
He just
so you used to love him. Now you hate him.
He's wide receiver 1.
That's what I'm saying.
No. They said all the starting receivers for Atlanta right now have a combined 5 touchdowns, and that is not Kyle Pitts because he has not scored a touchdown.
Say, man, look, you get a receiver in the draft. You got Zacchaeus. You've added Tate. You got Kyle Pitts. They're going to be good.
If Kyle Pitts and all the starting receivers walked around, in Flowery Branch, do people keep saying,
just give the book away?
Listen.
I mean, look, why does he do that?
What?
These guys have optimism.
Listen, 912-342-7184, 912-342-7184. The fourth caller will get a chance to win a copy of Uncommon and Unfinished, the Ben Troop Story with BJ Bennett, 912-342-7184. The fourth caller will get a autographed signed copy of Uncommon and Unfinished, the Ben Troop Story. Also, Kyle Pitts.
Kevin said only I was going to sign it.
Yeah.
Hey, go ahead. I mean, why not you?
BJ Bennett will sign it. Who? The Falcons wide receiving core.
Yeah, I mean, BJ.
Just stop. I'm telling you, look, it's coming together.
912-342, that's coming together. 912-342-7184. Fourth caller going to get a copy of Uncommon and Unfinished, the Ben Troop Story here this afternoon. Full final hour coming up. Bob Herrig, SI.com, going to join us. We'll also hear from Kyle Glazer, Baseball America, and Anthony Dasher, UGAsports.com. He will join us on the program as well, talking some Georgia football. And Brandon Jernigan, former Glenn and Brunswick quarterback, now with UGA Baseball, going to, or is, going through the drills there in spring with the Georgia football team. So can he make it going into fall? We'll talk to them about that in the final hour. Good to have you back here. Final hour of 3 and Out. Kevin, BJ, and Ben. A lot to get to here on the program, but certainly the Masters coming up right around the corner. And one Tiger Woods is in Augusta taking in a practice round. Joining us here on the program from SI.com and author of a new book, Tiger and Phil. Bob Herrick joins us here on 3 and Out. Bob, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. I appreciate you having me.
Appreciate you coming on. Tiger Woods at Augusta, what does that signal to you? Is this a tested out, or is this becoming a potential real thing that we could see Tiger back at the Masters when he hasn't played in quite some time on tour?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a step towards trying to be there. Whether or not that's going to happen, I think a lot has to still occur. It's just one day, and we don't really know exactly what has transpired at home, how much walking he's done on a golf course, how much recovery he needs, how much recovery will he need from today. You walk Augusta National just walking the course yourself without playing golf, and it's a tiring day. So throw in hitting shots, chipping, putting, being out there for 5 hours plus, so if that's what it was. And then throw in the fact that, he has a very, very damaged right foot and ankle, and it's a lot to overcome. So, can he, in a week's time, can he feel confident that he's going to be okay? I mean, I wish we could be there to ask him, because that's what I think everybody would love to know right now.
Bob, how much of this for Tiger is going to be, how does he feel physically tonight, tomorrow, and maybe even in the days to come after going through this practice round?
Yeah, look, if he feels horrible tomorrow, I don't see how you can do it, because it's not just one day. It's 2 days for sure. Obviously, he plans to try to make the cut, so that would be 4 days. There's got to be some practice leading up to it, even if he doesn't play the course or just plays a few holes. He's got to hit balls. So you're talking about 5, 6, 7 straight days of standing, hitting balls, all that kind of stuff. And, if he's feeling horrible tomorrow, that's not a good sign. It'd be one thing if he felt like he could make it to Sunday, and then he was going to have to take the whole next week to recover. But he's got to be able to recover between rounds. And luckily, the forecast looks decent. I think that helps. It's not going to be too hot. It's not going to be too cold. I don't think there's much rain. He doesn't want to really be on a slippery golf course either. So maybe he take some of that into account. But I do definitely feel that how he feels over the next day or two is really going to have a big impact in this. Like, I don't expect we're going to hear from him about this tomorrow, for example. I think it's going to take a couple days before he weighs in and lets us know.
And Bob, for as long as you've obviously covered Tiger Woods, I mean, it doesn't get much bigger than the Masters. For what you know of him, I mean, if you had to put a percentage on it, I mean, what's the likelihood that Tiger Woods is going to be out there on Sunday?
I think I really still think it's just 50-50. Before the last week, I would have put it at 90-10 that he wasn't going to. So in that aspect, it's jumped up a lot. I mean, it's way more likely in my mind now than I thought it was. I saw him 6 weeks ago in LA when he was at the Genesis hosting, and I listened to what he said, and he didn't sound like a guy who had been playing a lot of golf. Now look, he could have been snowing us, he could have been underplaying it, he could have been downplaying things to not get the hopes up, to not get expectations up. But if you took him at his word back then, it sure didn't seem likely that he would be doing this.
And again, the Masters, obviously the peak of golf. I mean, how much does that change your dynamic? I mean, we've counted Tiger Woods out before, and he comes in and plays tremendously well. How much do you think that changes the dynamic of the Masters if he is in it?
Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing. I just don't think you can ever count him out. You're kind of foolish if you do. That's why the idea of shutting the door on this completely was always sort of silly, is as unlikely as it appeared. I sort of think like, hey, he's proven us wrong before. He's done things nobody expected. This is the biggest leap ever, though. When you just, the amount of trauma that he went through, and a year ago this time, I don't think he was walking, barely if he was. So the strides he has made in that amount of time are pretty impressive.
Bob, given that we're over a week away from the Masters and Tiger Woods is the talking point, the story, the potential even of him playing, I mean, will there be a sense of disappointment around the Masters if he can't go?
There might be. Yeah, I think there might be, because there's been so much hype here the last couple of days that all of a sudden, you might actually be thinking that, wow, that's not so great. Like there could be a big letdown if he doesn't play. And if that's the case, it would be the first time since 1994 we wouldn't have Tiger or Phil in the same, at least one of them in the Masters. So that's a little bit eye-opening too. So yeah, I think there is a possibility for that, because this has been built up pretty big, and in my own mind I've tried to downplay it a little bit because I just know how much he's got to deal with. And again, I just think the fact that he's even trying is pretty remarkable.
And Bob, you mentioned, potentially not having Tiger or Phil, and if Tiger does play, does it make it even bigger because Phil is not going to be in it? Obviously, he's not going to be in it because of because of reasons, obviously decisions that he made before that. But how much crazier does it make it to the point where no Phil, potentially have a Tiger if he's there? How much is that going to even make it even bigger for a guy like Tiger Woods?
Yeah, I think it's always big no matter what, and if he's there, then tournament just goes up even another notch, even though it'll be fine without him, frankly. It's been 3 years since we had a full house there. This will be, it'll be full attendance. There'll be a par 3 contest like there hasn't been the last 2 years. All of that's back in play. And so the tournament's going to be off the charts no matter what. But obviously there's not a whole lot of talk about the Masters nationally the week before the Masters like there is right now. And it's all because of him.
Bob Herrick joining us here on 3 and Out. And Bob, the author of a book that's going to be coming out April 26th, Tiger and Phil, golf's most fascinating rivalry. And as Ben said, both in the news for very different reasons here recently. But what can you tell us about the Tiger and Phil book that's coming out again next month?
Yeah, thank you. Well, it's basically kind of chronicles their ride from the beginnings of their careers all the way to this point. Not quite to this point, but almost. And, how much they intersected, how much their careers intertwined, how they were sort of, not the greatest of friends. They had their squabbles, they had their beefs. There were, moments of disdain between them. And yet they were the two best. Tiger clearly had the better record, but Phil had his moments, and I sort of take you through all that. There's some behind the scenes stories I uncovered, mostly fun stuff or juvenile or petty, but still there. And it kind of highlights the, sort of the tension between them over the years. There was probably a 10, 12-year period where they just were not, they were not friendly. They didn't run in the same circles. They didn't play practice rounds together. They didn't necessarily talk all that highly of each other. And, the result was two fierce competitors that, ended up winning their share.
Bob Herrick joining us here on 3 and Out. Bob, really appreciate the time. Again, the book is Tiger and Phil, golf's most fascinating rivalry. Comes out on April the 26th. Bob, we appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me, guys. Be well.
Thank you, Bob Herrick, joining us here on 3 and Out. Tiger and Phil, again, one of the biggest rivalries in sports. And as you said, it wasn't necessarily the friendly rivalry. It was like, oh, they were both good and they kind of had a friendly bet. No, they really got after it in a lot of different ways. And I think Bob's going to walk you through that in that book. And again, it comes out in late April on the 26th and should be a fascinating read. But again, it just shows you where that is at, BJ, in the last 2 weeks. The biggest golf tournament in the world is coming up. And we've talked about Phil kind of being told not to come and Tiger Woods possibly playing just because he's there. I mean, this has got, and there's no guarantee that either one of them, well, we know Phil's not, but are even going to play. And they're the biggest talked about stories right now going into Augusta.
Well, and I asked Rich, obviously, and Bob this question, but I think it's interesting to think about. Even for a tournament like the Masters, it's the Masters. But if Tiger Woods, given that there was even the thought that he could play the week before, and again, we don't know. I mean, Tiger may not even know at this point. You got to wait and see. But if Tiger Woods, given that the Monday before, that's all everybody's talking about, if he can't go, is there going to be like a letdown, a kind of a disappointment with the Masters?
It will be. Because the thing is, like you talk about the two most polarizing golfers, in the last, 20, 30 years, and then you talk about both of them potentially not being there. Tiger Woods is flirting with disaster in such a social media driven world now. Anything that even, it's almost like Bob said, it's a chance 50-50. Nope. Tiger's in Augusta, and that's people go, oh, Tiger's in Augusta, he's gonna play. Well, Tiger hasn't played all year. You don't know how
but you don't show up to Augusta unless you. I mean, to me, you don't go to Augusta unless you feel like there's a chance you're going to get out there.
It's the momentum of it. I will say this once again: if you ever did anything in athletics, the game does something different to you. Nobody's feeling 100%. Let me just put it out there. But there's something about saying, man, maybe the momentum of the moment can like push me through the next 4 days. Now, golf is different. Because it takes a long time to play golf, even if you're getting there with your tee time, what may have you. I think Tiger Woods is doing it for something different. Now, there's nothing else Tiger Woods needs to do. His legacy is cemented. But I think he said, look, I want to walk away on my own terms. I don't want to be because of injury. I don't want to be because, Father Time is caught up to me. But, yeah, if Phil's not going to be there, and obviously the golfers are going to be asked about it unless Augusta National said, look, ask the players about this tournament, nothing else. And if Tiger Woods is there, I mean, what's bigger than that? So I know Tiger Woods hope to play. I know he's out there trying to get it going. But until he does not show up for his tee time, everybody, whether you root for him, don't root for him, you think Tiger Woods going to show up.
Going to be fun to watch, certainly over the coming days as to what that decision is going to be. We got so much to get to here on 3 and Out. We're talking a little baseball. Kyle Glaser, Baseball America, joins us next here on 3 and Out. Good to have you back. 3 and Out. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, thanks for making us a part of your day. We are closing the gap on the start of the Major League Baseball season coming up next week. Next Thursday, the Braves will be back there in Atlanta taking on the Cincinnati Reds to officially begin their defense of a World Series championship. And joining us here from Baseball America, Kyle Glaser joins us here on 3 and Out. Kyle, welcome to the show. How are you?
Doing all right. Thanks for having me.
You look at the Braves, have had a wild offseason. I say offseason, obviously the lockout was impacted there, but the last couple of weeks leading up to spring training, Freddie Freeman gone, Matt Olson in, Kenley Jansen coming in. Is it possible that despite losing Freddie Freeman, this team got better?
I don't think you ever lose Freddie Freeman and get better necessarily, but they've certainly added some talent. You mentioned bringing Kenley Jansen. He had a bounce-back year last year and certainly strengthens that bullpen. Potentially you have some guys healthier in the starting rotation this year, and of course, you stand to get Ronald Acuna Jr. back for a full season. So I think what I would say is the Braves are the defending World Series champions coming off an 88-win season. It would not surprise me if they exceed that 88 win total and again contend for a World Series. As much as Freddie Freeman is a great player and you don't get better when you lose him by any means, there's a lot of talent on this team and they can absolutely compete.
Matt Olson comes in. Obviously, the expectations are very high. What are fair expectations? You can't be Freddie Freeman. I don't think that's fair. But from a stat line, from a production standpoint, what should Braves fans expect?
Yeah, it's always tricky when guys switch leagues. We see great players struggle with that. You look at Francisco Lindor going from Cleveland to New York last year. That plus being a hometown kid, it wouldn't surprise me if maybe he presses a little bit and maybe this year isn't his best year. But when he's at his best, this is a guy who, again, last year was a top 10 MVP finisher who hits 270 with an OPS around 900 and is good for 35-plus homers a year. At his peak, he's one of the most dangerous left-handed power hitters in baseball, and that's what he's capable of. Although, again, it wouldn't surprise me if this first year maybe it's a little bit under that just with the pressures of playing at home and being in a new league.
Kyle, when you think about the way, Alex Anthopoulos and how he's been able to put this team together the last 4 years, and you look at what they do around this division, when you think about how the Mets spin, how the Phillies spin, the Braves, they don't usually give, big money contracts, even though Matt Olson was able to get that, that big deal coming over from the A's. Talk about the way Alex Anthopoulos has been a way to see what the guys have been doing around him, do it the Braves way, and obviously it seems to be working for him.
Yeah, first and foremost, you have to acknowledge, Alex Anthopoulos inherited the best farm system in baseball. The Braves were the number one ranked farm system in Baseball America's organization talent rankings in 2017, 2018. So that's a really good place to start, and his predecessors deserve a lot of credit for that. But he did the right thing, bringing guys up, giving early extensions to Ronald Acuna and Ozzie Albies, keeping them affordable. They've done some good things in terms of signing guys to 1-year deals or 2-year deals so that they're not hamstrung long term, but are getting that immediate impact. And the total, package of it all has been a really, really good young core big leaguers that they've brought up on good timetables under Anthopoulos for the most part and not rushed. Combine that with some smart free agent signings on short deals, and you have a really good team with a lot of financial flexibility. That's a really good way to go.
You look at the new DH in the National League, the universal DH. How do you think that plays? I know obviously when you had the crossover games, National League teams sometimes did not fare the best when they had to implement the DH. How do you think that changes the way fans who have watched National League baseball for a long time gets played? Less reliance on the bench, a guy who's obviously in there hitting. How do you think you see that change and affect what teams are doing?
Yeah, you're going to see more offense. Last year, pitchers barely hit over 100 last year. They struck out nearly 45% of the time they're at the plate. It was just ugly. It had gotten to a point where pitchers were just so ineffective hitting. Not that they were ever great at it, but it was all-time lows last year in terms of both batting average and slugging percentage. It just wasn't tenable. So getting a real actual hitter in the lineup, you're going to see offense go up, and you're going to see a lot more reliance on team starters. Again, you need a good bench to succeed. You need depth to get through the course of a long season. But there's no question, not having to do as many double switches, you're going to see the best hitters stay in the game longer. And ultimately, you're going to see more offense and potentially a better, more high-scoring product from an entertainment standpoint.
Speaking of the DH, there's been some talk, hey, Ronald Acuna, as he gets back to full health, maybe he could DH before being in the field every day. Do you think that's a viable option for the Atlanta Braves?
It could be, but I mean, this is just such a talented player. You certainly want to let him be healthy enough to roam the outfield. The best version of the Braves and the best version of Ronald Acuna is when he's playing on both sides of the ball. So, the Braves will have to look at where he's at in his progression, where their team is at in terms of what injuries they've suffered or what players are struggling or not, and how badly they need his bat in the lineup. But you certainly don't want to bring him up when he's not 100% back yet. You want him to be able to, be who he is in the box, but also be able to roam around the outfield without issues, because ultimately that's the goal here. He's a great player on both sides of the ball, and you don't want to rush something and make it so he's only a great player on one side of the ball.
I mean, Kyle, with the Phillies making the moves they made, you look at what the Mets did. How competitive do you think this NL East is going to be this season?
Yeah, it should be very, very competitive. Again, the Mets have a rotation that's pretty scary at the front when you can go Jacob deGrom, Max Scherzer. I firmly expect Francisco Lindor to have a bounce back year, his second year in New York and in the National League, and there's a lot of talent around him in the lineup. And the Phillies can mash with anyone. Whether they're going to be able to play defense is up for debate, but they've got a really, really dangerous lineup that can win some high-scoring games. If you get into the baseball equivalent of a shootout with the Phillies, it's not where you want to be. They can beat teams 11-9 or 12-9. So, this will be a competitive division, as it was for most of last year until the very end. But look, the Braves are the defending World Series champions and the 4-time defending division champions. They're still on top until someone knocks them off.
Kyle Glaser, Baseball America, joining us here on 3 and Out. And you mentioned a couple of guys there with the Mets having bounce back years. Look at a guy on the Braves like an Austin Riley, who second half putting up MVP type stuff. Do you expect that to continue? Do you expect some regression out of him? What do you expect for a guy that I know the Braves are counting on to provide that power in a big, big way?
I expect him to continue his upward trend. Is he going to finish top 10 in MVP voting again? Again, maybe that's not fair to put on him, but this is a really good player. This was a top draft pick. He was a supplemental first-round pick. He was the number one prospect in the farm system. It's not like this came out of nowhere. He debuted very, very, very young, went through some struggles that the majority of young players go through. Again, the Ronald Acuna Jr.'s of the world are the exception. The vast majority of young players, they need some time to acclimate. We saw him go through his struggles his first two seasons, both shortened seasons. 2019 was a partial season. 2020 was the COVID shortened season. Got his first full season in 2021 and was, again, one of the best hitters in the National League. And he's a good defender, too. This is a good player who will continue to be a good player, whether he hits 300 with 30 bombs and 100 RBIs again. It's tough to predict that for anyone, but wouldn't be surprised if he does it again.
I know for a lot of us, when you evaluate a baseball team, you look at the starting pitchers, you look at the batting order, the lineup, but the Braves bullpen, I mean, is this the best bullpen in baseball? And could they be the reason this might be the team to beat?
It's a very, very good bullpen. Bring in Kenley Jansen. Colin McHugh was also a very, very good under-the-radar signing. You have Smith, Matzik, Minter. Is it the singular best bullpen in baseball? That's tough to say. The White Sox have a really, really good bullpen. The Dodgers, even after losing Kenley Jansen, still have a really good deep bullpen. But it's certainly in the mix, whether it's number 1 or 3 or 4 or 5. This is a really, really good bullpen that will absolutely be a strength of this team.
And Cal, I mean, I know, Kevin kind of mentioned when you first came on. I mean, the fact that the owners and the players were able to get this deal done. I mean, a lot of times when you talk about going to the negotiating table, people think it's going to go well into the season. Talk about how these guys was able to get it. Yes, it was kind of a little contentious because the lockout started back in December, but talk about those guys finding a way to get it done to be able to play all 162 games.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone realized it was not in the sport's best interest to lose games. Remember, Rob Manfred came out and said games are canceled the first 2 series of the season, and they will not be made up. But we now know that was more of a negotiating ploy, and as soon as they were able to get a deal together, they put them back on the schedule. So, again, from start to finish, I think there was an understanding it was important to get the deal done and not let this cost regular season games, because that would just be disastrous for baseball coming off of the shortened 2020 season with no fans and a lot of teams not having fans for the first month or so of the 2021 season. Losing games in 2022 would have been an absolute disaster. Luckily, it was averted, and the deal was fair on both sides, it seems like, although we still have to see the details. A lot of times the devil's in the details of the agreement, but on the surface, it's a fair deal for both sides, and now we're ready to play.
Kyle Glazer, Baseball America, our guest here on 3 and Out. Kyle, appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Yeah, my pleasure, guys. Anytime.
Appreciate it. And the Braves coming back a week from Thursday, and they'll play the Cincinnati Reds at home, defending their World Series championship. We've got more to come here. It's 3 and Out, the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here, 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin, BJ, and Ben. A lot to get to there in Athens. Spring football going on. You got baseball. Mike White getting over $3 million a year. Coach basketball there at Georgia. That was announced officially out there today. Anthony Dasher, UGAsports.com, joining us. Got a article out on Randon Jernigan, former Glenn Academy Brunswick quarterback, plays outfield for the Dogs, now give it a go at football. And Anthony joins us here on 3 and Out. Anthony, welcome. How are you?
Hey, guys, I'm doing great.
Talk about Randon. Obviously, he's played baseball. Is he still involved with baseball while spring practice is going on? And what kind of sparked this move to give football a go here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised that, first of all, and I know Brandon pretty well, and I know he's kind of had that itch for a little bit to maybe get back to play in some football. And Kirby Smart's going to give him, the opportunity to come over as a walk-on. He's going to play wide receiver. And wouldn't shock me knowing Brandon, knowing how fast he is. He may get some looks on special teams as well. Great high school football career. As you well know, he had over 20-something offers, I believe. I know Cincinnati had offered him, Army and Coastal Carolina, Georgia Southern had all wanting to come play football for their respective teams. So I'm excited for it. I mean, we'll see what happens. Haven't had a chance to speak with him yet about this opportunity, but it doesn't surprise me at all to see Randon Jernigan attempt to play football one more time.
I was going to say a guy that was, a great athlete in high school and has done baseball, doing baseball, and now football. I mean, what are some of the expectations in the spring? I know spring is a time for a lot of guys to get a lot of different opportunities. Is he looking at the receiver position primarily? Are there some opportunities on special teams? Kind of what's the plan here this spring?
Well, I still don't know exactly. I mean, the first thing he's going to do is just kind of get back used to, get in football shape. I mean, obviously Brandon's in great shape, playing baseball. There's a little difference to being in football shape than baseball shape. That's something I'm sure he's having to get adjusted to right now. But he is out. He started, I believe it was last week. He's out on the field taking part in practices with the rest of the team. Right now they're about the midway point through their spring drills, and just going to kind of see where he fits in. What might he do down the road? Again, we just have to wait and see. But I was actually talking to somebody today, knowing that Brandon was a former quarterback, again how fast he is. If Georgia were to ever go back to using the wild dog, offense, you put like a wide receiver or a running back at the quarterback spot, you get inside the red zone, he might be perfect for something like that. So we'll see if that's something down the road that Kirby Smart wants to give a shot to.
And then we think about a guy like Randon, though, how much more of a competitive advantage sometimes can you have already playing another sport? Because the hardest thing with college is getting acclimated to college and athletics. I mean, even though it's a different sport, and obviously he played football before, the wide receiver position. I mean, I don't know the depth chart at Georgia right now, but it seems to be pretty open to have a guy like Randon really go out there. Might not compete for a starting spot, but definitely could compete for some playing time this fall.
Well, no question. I mean, wide receiver and cornerback are two of the positions that Kirby Smart has spoken about, so far this spring as being the, two positions where there's the least amount of depth. So yeah, you're right, Ben. I mean, it's not going to be a case where Randon's going to come in and I don't think compete for a starting role. However, I mean, with some of the openings they've got, if he can show he can, acclimate himself fast enough, learn the playbook. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at all to see him get some looks, this upcoming fall. He don't have 2 years eligibility left, so he'll come back and play a couple more years.
So, Anthony, is this something that sounds like it's just a kind of a tryout, so to speak, for the spring? And is he still with the baseball team while he's doing this?
Yeah, more or less. And yeah, he is going to continue to play baseball, throughout this whole deal. I did speak with, head baseball coach Scott Strickland, who, was very enthusiastic about, Brandon getting this opportunity. So it's really no problem, for him from his standpoint. It is kind of unusual, though. You see football players, play baseball. I mean, Georgia has a history of that. Buck Bellew, Jeff Piber, and kind of going back a little bit, play both sports. But you rarely do you see a player who's already established on a baseball team jump over to football. Now, most of these guys on the baseball team do play football in high school, but, not at the, capable of playing at the level at UGA. So this is a very rare, rare thing that, Randon is attempting to do right now.
And Anthony, you mentioned, I mean, the football team, the defending national champions, they're going to be preseason top 3 at worst. Baseball, I think, nationally ranked, playing in the SEC. So 2 elite programs there with the football and baseball team.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, baseball, I know, got a little bit of issues going on right now with some of the pitching woes they've got, other than Jonathan Cannon. But you're right about the football program. Even though they've lost a ton of people, I think Georgia will be picked somewhere in the top 5 preseason. But again, they got some holes they've got to fill as well. They lost a ton of guys on defense, as you well know. For all those guys who won't get picked in the draft coming up, but there's still a lot of talent there for sure.
Anthony, when you think about this Georgia team, obviously they was able to finally get over the hump last year with a guy like Stetson Bennett. You talk about the lack of depth at the quarterback position. How important is this going to be for them to establish a number 2? If Stetson Bennett, who's obviously gonna have the best shot to be the starter with what he's done, not just last year, but the last 3 years, how important is it to establish who's going to be a solid backup if an injury does happen to Stetson Bennett?
Well, I think that's going to be probably one of the main focuses of the spring. They do have Carson Beck right now from down in Jacksonville. A lot of people are kind of surprised he didn't transfer after last year, but he's back and apparently, playing very well. Of course, you got Brock Vandegrift in his second year in the program. Ran scout team for the Bulldogs last year. He's had a good spring. And they've got the early enrollee former 5-star Gunnar Stockton in as well. So they've got 4 guys they're very happy with. But it's just a matter now about which one of those other 3 guys I just mentioned kind of take that next step forward and becomes that guy that coaches are coupling up with in case something does happen to Stetson.
Anthony, do you believe there'll be a quarterback controversy come fall, or is it simply, look, Stetson won you a national championship, that's it?
I can't imagine why. I mean, after what Stetson did last year, he would really have to, in the spring or in this preseason to not have that starting job. But, anything's possible. I just chalk me up as being shocked if Stetson Bennett is not that starting quarterback when Georgia opened against Oregon in Mercedes-Benz.
Georgia has so much to replace defensively, but has recruited so well. Who are some of the new names to watch on the defensive side of the ball?
Well, at linebacker, I think, sophomore, Jamon Dumas Johnson is a guy who I think compares, favorably to Kobe Dean. I'm not going to put him in that category yet, but he's a young guy who loves to hit, got that perfect frame and size that Coach Smart loves, the middle linebacker. He's one to watch. True freshman Michael Williams, former 5-star, is now trying to fill some of the shoes that Trayvon Walker, left. And they've got a couple of cornerbacks coming in, coming in later in May. I think we'll have a chance to contribute for some starting roles. But they've got Marvin Jones Jr., another guy who's going to come in and make defensive, have a chance to get some early PT. But those are probably the main ones I'll be looking at right now.
The tight end position has obviously been riddled with injuries. When you think about the fact that, obviously Bowers is out. You talk about Washington is out now. Got another tight end goes out yesterday. But a guy like Eric Gilbert, one, he's back on campus. You happy with him. He's back at home. Hopefully he has handled everything he needs to handle away from football. How is he looking this spring, and how big of a weapon can he be when, obviously, you get Washington and Bowers back in the fall?
Yeah, I think he could be a very big weapon. Now, the biggest thing for Eric, he had to lose a bunch of weight. And he did not play last year. He got up. You're not going to believe this. He got up to close to 300 pounds. So he's had to drop some considerable, weight. Fortunately, he has. And just, and when we saw him last week, I, guesstimate he's probably in the 250 range. They still want him to probably get to about 235, 240. And ultimately, I think they actually want to put him back at wide receiver, which he's actually listed at. You look at Georgia's official website, but he is at tight end right now with some of the guys missing that you just mentioned, Brock, Darnell and Ryan Goody are not able to practice right now. But so far, Eric is doing what he's been asked to do, and I think he has a chance to make a big impact if he just keeps on that path he's on right now.
Anthony Dasher, UGAsports.com, joining us here on 3 and Out. And finally, Anthony, Georgia tonight playing Georgia Southern in baseball. They're in the top 25, as we talked about 7 SEC teams in the top 25. Very tough. Is this a team with Omaha aspirations? Can they make it to that Omaha setting, this bunch?
Well, the pitching is the question right now. Georgia lost, Dylan Ross and, Will Childers, two guys who were supposed to be play huge roles as far as starting rotation goes. Both those guys are now out for the year. John Cannon, the Friday starter, is one of the best of the SEC, but after that, it's a real question mark right now. They're kind of struggling to put some things together. They were beaten by Mississippi State 20-3. It was Sunday, a week ago, and this past Sunday, they lost to Kentucky, a team that's not, really doesn't have a really, tremendous baseball tradition. We're beaten 18-5. So they've got some issues with that rotation. They're trying to figure out if they want to get back to Omaha, they're going to have to get that done.
And they've got Georgia Southern coming up top of the hour tonight. Anthony Dasher, UGAsports.com, our guest. Anthony, appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Anytime.
Anthony Dasher joining us here on 3 and Out, and Randon Jernigan doing the baseball and football thing there at Georgia here in spring practice. He said kind of an experiment to see where he potentially could fit in, but you can read that there, UGAsports.com, with Anthony.
Yeah, really cool and a great high school player when you think about multiple sports there. Speed. You heard Anthony say potentially could you have kind of a wildcat situation at the quarterback spot, but a really cool story there with Randon Jernigan.
Yeah, my freshman year had a guy named Major Wright who was actually on the basketball team, actually wanted to come over there and play football. I mean, he actually said something about me, like, they got this freshman tight end, I just got to beat him out, and I'll get some playing time. I was like, Major, man, I mean, I'm not here to be the bearer of bad news, but I had to come all the way from Augusta, GA to watch you play. So needless to say, he ended up playing defensive end and not tight end. But those guys be very, very athletic. But I mean, when it comes to the stamina and endurance of those guys, man, Major Wright used to run around us like it was nobody's business, man. But when we put them pads on and he started feeling like, 300-pound men leaning up against him, he was like, oh, okay. I said, yeah, man, you got to be able to have endurance to get another grown man up off you. But Randon, I'm wishing him nothing but the best.
We've got more to come here. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you here on this Tuesday, Kevin, BJ, and Ben. Glad you're making us a part of your day. A lot coming up here in just a little bit. As soon as we are done, if you're listening in Savannah, we got Georgia and Georgia Southern. Going to play a little baseball tonight down the coast. We got Lakers and Mavericks coming up 7 o'clock pregame coverage a little bit later this evening. So a little bit of both worlds there this evening coming up.
Yeah, looking forward to both those games. Did you guys see with the win over the Pacers? We've been talking about it for a couple of weeks.
They finally got
the
there.
Hawks have a winning record.
Oh my God! How many games left in the season? What, like 5 or 6?
Yeah, but I
like
think it's interesting because you don't want to get into a situation. I don't think where you're playing Brooklyn in the play-in tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the Hawks are 10th, which will be like 7th in the West. But winning record, got off to a slow start.
Yeah,
give the Hawks credit.
No, I give the Hawks credit every year. I mean, the thing is this: everybody thought that the East was going to go down when old LeBron James moved on to the Western Conference, but then the East is really, 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 really good top to bottom. Obviously, when you think about what the Celtics are doing, we think about what the Heat are doing, what Milwaukee is doing. The Hawks going to have to make sure they are active on the defensive end. But Trey, I will say this: Trey runs Madison Square Garden. He runs that thing. He looked at the fans and said, "Take that L." Love Trick or Trey.
But if you have to play Brooklyn, see, because right now and
they're a half game out of the 9,
yes,
and a whole game out of 8.
But the way it's looking, you could finish 8, 9, 10 anywhere. You're going to make the playoffs. The Knicks right now are in 11th by a wide margin.
They don't get in.
Yeah, so you're going to make the playoffs or I don't know if Kevin Thomas considers it the actual playoffs.
The play-in, yeah.
Okay.
But Kevin, do you like basketball? Because when it comes to
it's still a 1-game play-in, right?
No, I'm just saying when
you are playing against the other teams to see who gets to go in and play.
Well, what about the group of 68 in college? You love that?
No, I don't. I'm just saying. Here's my thing. When you are playing, what is everybody else doing? They are waiting for you to play, so they know who the heck they're playing in the playoffs. You're in the play-in game. Sorry, I mean that's the way it is.
All right, listen.
Okay, so when the Hawks play in the playoffs,
play-in game.
I'm just saying you don't want to play Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody scared of Brooklyn, man. Anybody scared of Kyrie. Anybody scared of KD. They took Milwaukee to the brink last year, right? Come on, man. They can play with the best of them. Plus, at the end of the day, Kyrie, I think now BJ has reestablished himself as the best point guard in the game.
Kyrie versus Trey would be a heck of a matchup, though.
Listen, Kyrie don't want another Trey. I love Kyrie. I love him with the microphone. He got the microphone afro. I like it. But Trick or Trey, hey, listen, Kevin's gonna get some of them ice trays, right? It came down between Trey or Kyrie. I mean, Kawhi Leonard, with the Pumas. I mean, the New Balances, and Kevin was like, "I'm gonna go with Trick or Trey."
Does he wear New Balance?
Yeah.
Trey
Wears Adidas, but Kawhi Leonard wears New Balance.
Kevin, do you have the Kawhis?
No. They don't improve my
well,
vertical.
Well, it probably doesn't have because he doesn't wear shoes up here half the time.
It don't improve my vertical, so
yeah.
Gotta
if
wear
if
shoes.
I can't dunk in them, there's no good. Yeah, I'm barefoot right now. No shoes nation. I don't understand why people are like, I'm sitting in a chair, my feet off the ground.
Just a question.
Just hanging.
Do you only not wear shoes when you're sitting in a chair?
What, like ever?
I'm saying, are there ever occasions where you just kind of are walking and you don't have shoes on?
All the time.
So then why did you even say, I don't have any shoes on, but I'm sitting in a chair, as if to insinuate, as if to suggest that's when you don't wear shoes?
As soon as I get home, the shoes come off.
Yeah, but what about work?
What about work?
Mm-hmm. Here it comes. Don't do that in front of BJ. Listen, if you ain't never met BJ Bennett, do something you don't want nobody to know.
I'm just saying, look, no, you and I are the only people that wear shoes up here.
Hey, listen, at the end of the day, he want his feet to be free.
I like my feet breathe.
He like the wind in between his toes, the Golden Isles wind.
I just like that coastal breeze moving through my feet.
There it is.
What's wrong with that? Nice summer day, feel the sidewalk on your feet. Come on, man, that's wonderful.
Well, we're inside.
Well, I mean, that's fine. Depending on where you're at in the carpet, it can feel nice. No Shoes Nation, become a fan, live it, love it.
Kevin's next career, he's gonna be smashing grapes, and then what they do to make the wine and all that stuff, they have to smash them.
I don't know if we've moved past that or not.
We don't do that. I don't know.
I think you can do it that way.
I'm pretty sure
I don't know if they
that.
want to do it that way anymore.
Would you drink the same one that you smash with your feet if they told you this is what you smash with your feet?
Well, I mean, I'm sure it goes through a cooking process at some point. And at that point, my feet germs will have evaporated out. Either that or it's going to add some great flavor. Some great flavor. Anthony Dasher joined us here on the program. Also, Rich Stiles, Bob Herring, Kyle Glazer, and Graham Coffey. ESPNCoastal.com, our YouTube channel at ESPN Coastal on YouTube. If you missed any of the show, we'll see you tomorrow, 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network.